All right. Hello. I hope my microphone is working this time. I was taking I took a couple minutes to make sure the right one was plugged in, and it says it in YouTube Studio, so I hope it's working correctly this time. I think it was going into my computer microphone, but I hope it's my good quality one. Um We'll find out after. Or can I pull up my own chat in another thingy and listen to myself? No, I probably can't. Because then I'll be talking at the same time. Let's see. Hello? Oh, good, it is coming out of the right microphone. Okay. Alright, awesome. Alright. Great. So, let's go to the top of this chat here, and then we can get into some stuff because you guys, I just there's too much. I like, as I was getting ready this morning, um, I wake up and I go, "You can't see, look at that." I'm getting a stress zit from this, okay? I take good care of my skin, all right? I don't get acne too often. I wake up, I got a giant pimple on my chin. I'm like, "I can't take this." The show, I am ready. I am ready for it to be over. It is doing a number on my mind, lately. I am just so stressed, so that's why I'm hopping on here today, honestly, because just so much of it has just been weighing on my mind that, I just needed to come on here and, like, rant about stuff and talk about stuff before tomorrow, and I couldn't do it tomorrow. Like, I know I've seen a few other creators say they're going live tomorrow, but I just can't do that. Like, I'm gonna be just, like, in my mind going crazy tomorrow, so I so I wanted to get all of this out today, and then try to mentally calm myself and prepare all day tomorrow. So it's nice to see some people here in the chat already. Hello, hi, thank you. So, Bushman Studios is first person to write in and says, "Help! I know someone who unironically ships Hopper and Kali and even wrote a fanfic about it." And you know what? What's sad is that I can probably see what they were thinking. Is that they were all very like, you know, fighting with each other. They probably took that as angst and was like, "You know what? I'm gonna run with that." And it's like, ew. Like, why? It's like, at least Kali is canonically an adult, but we did have Hopper calling her a child and everything, so she is, his daughter's sister, like, ew, like, I don't understand, like, some aspects of shipping culture, like, I don't get it, and it's just I'm not even gonna question it, gonna just stay away from that, but then you got me over here still living off of, the tiny Stolly crumbs that we got in volume 2, which, by the way, I really do gotta say, they kinda did give us a little bit. I'm not I I was actually surprised. I mean, we literally got almost nothing. Like I said, I'm very disappointed with what they've done with Kali's character. I was definitely expecting way more. Like it and I've said at least a scene of her like properly meeting the group, but we didn't even get that. But what we did get, at least in the scene where um Lucas says to Max before they all head into the squawk, and he says, "You up for a tour?" And then they head in. When they show everybody head in from the side, Kali and Steve are walking side by side. So I was like, It happened. They shared a frame, guys. They shared a frame. And then I'm pretty sure the only other member of the group that they had Kali have like a back and forth dialogue with, other than like Elle's immediate circle of Hopper and Mike, um, was Steve. Was it not? When they were all in the room and he was having his little smart moment and doing the thing with the beanstalk or whatever, he said something and then she said something and then he responded back. Good enough for me at this point. Good enough for me. I mean, at this point, I feel like anything more would have been asking too much. So at least we got that. Kind of funny, but hey. Um, all right. Michael Evans says, I don't see how in one episode they can rescue the shipwreck of a season and wrap up the show. Britt, I'm less than optimistic. It makes me sad to say because it's my favorite show of all time. Yeah, no, same. I mean, ever since The Walking Dead kind of did me dirty with all the Carl stuff, right around 2017, 2018, that is when, post season 2, like right after season 2, Stranger Things became my new favorite show. And I told myself after the Carl fiasco, I was like, the Duffer Brothers would never do me that dirty. They would never disappoint me that much. Right. So, but I feel like it could be worse, right? But we got a lot to talk about. We'll get into it. This season has fell below my expectations. I mean, definitely, I would agree with that. I mean, but I think, I think I said in the last chat that this release model of the, um, all these breaks between drops, it's not really doing the show any favors. It's allowing expectations, like I think taking a month break after Sorcerer, which became like the highest rated episode of the show for a while there because of that big Will hype moment at the end, right? To go from that and then build up all that hype while they were away for a month and then come back with volume 2, it was like whatever they did with volume 2 needed to meet at least or surpass what they did at the end of Sorcerer. And so I think I just think the release model is not helping because it allowed people to really get super hype. I mean, like even me, like after the Kali reveal, I was like, my mind was going crazy. I was like, oh my God, like this is so freaking exciting. Like the possibilities were endless in my head for a month of what they could do with her, where they were gonna take her. And then to say that what we ended up getting was disappointing, is an understatement, you know? I was coming up with all these ideas in my head of, how her powers could be used, like cool ways they could utilize that, her being like integrated into the group, fun dynamics between her and some of the other cast members or characters. Um, and we've gotten basically none of that. So so yeah, I mean, and that's why I think like if the season had dropped all at once, at least we would have just been able to watch it all and then, come to our own conclusions by the end, and we wouldn't have had this whole crazy up down roller coaster journey by taking these breaks. And even if they dropped it all at once, I probably still would have been like really excited after the Collie thing and then like probably a little bit more disappointed as I watched, but I feel like it probably wouldn't have hit as poorly if you were able to just take the whole thing in. But these breaks are really like setting expectations and then not meeting them or like whatever. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like this release model just for some reason is not working for this specific show, at least. Um, let's see, LTC. All I know is if any of these kids have kids of their own, they're going to be the most nosy helicopter parents that ever lived. They're gonna be like Joyce times 100, like season 1 Joyce times 100. Nicholas the Brave is here. Hello. Blades of Munch is back. Hello. My mom popped in. Jeannie's journal. Hello. Um, let's see. The finale is going to be rushed. There are too many plot lines they left us with to do all of them justice. Agreed. Are you going to the theater to watch it? So that's from Cowboy Like Tay. Good to see you again. I have a ticket to see it New Year's Day. But I'm kind of debating on whether or not I'm actually gonna go, which is annoying because apparently the tickets are non-refundable. So so I kind of feel like I have to go. But you know, if I don't, there's just gonna be an empty seat in the theater. But it depends, right? I was deciding. I was like, I'm gonna watch it New Year's Eve. If I really, really liked it and it really moved me and I cried because I really wanna cry. You know, I love things that can make me cry. You know, my favorite movie is Titanic. You know, I that's always what I look for. Um, you know, Titanic, like, shaped my opinion on film from the time I was, like, 5. So it's like every time I watch a movie or like which, you know, they are treating this final episode almost like a movie. Um, you know, I want to be able to just watch it and take it in and like go on a journey and be emotionally moved in some way by the end, right? So if the finale really does that for me and I really enjoyed it and I'm emotional and I loved it, then I will go and see it again in theaters the next day. Um, but I think I think I might still just go anyway. Like I said, the tickets are non-refundable, so so I might as well go. And secondly, you know, it could benefit from a second watch, you know, no matter how I feel about it. You know, it could probably benefit from a second watch and seeing it with an audience, uh, you know, could be fun, you know, in a fun way to you know, end the journey of Stranger Things. Um Britt, I know you're a Titanic fan, so maybe a rewatch is warranted. A rewatch of Titanic for you? Absolutely. You know I'm gonna co-sign that. But I will say, if you have not seen Titanic in a long time, or if you haven't ever, for anybody else in this chat, if you've never seen Titanic at all, waiting for another theatrical release is the way to go. You know, people say things all the time like, "Oh, no, you gotta, like, see it on the big screen." Like, Titanic is genuinely a movie that you need to see on the big screen. Like, it was made for the big screen. Like, I think if you see it, you know, at home on a TV or, like, on your computer or something, it doesn't do the movie justice because it is just such a beautiful, like, beautifully shot, like, the sets, the costumes, the magnitude of the story, like, the emotion, like, everything, like, it's literally Titanic. Like, as far like, the word, like, it is huge. So it just demands, like, the biggest screen and the loudest sound, that you can get to really, like, take in all the majesty. So you know, I think the 30th anniversary is coming up in 2 years, I think. So it is one of these movies that they seem to release every so often. So if they do something else for the 30th, I would hold off on a rewatch of Titanic until you can see it on a big screen. Um, and like my local, like I have like a local community theater that's shown like random, like 35 millimeter screenings of it and stuff, like, you can find random stuff like that sometimes, so keep your eyes peeled for theatrical releases if you ever wanna rewatch Titanic or see it for the first time. Um, Hi, are you going to react to the final trailer? That's Nicholas Yuri. I watched the final trailer already this morning and we can go over it today. That new trailer was a nothing burger. It truly gave us nothing in terms of insight or intrigue. I don't know if I totally agree with that. I feel like it gave us a little bit. Um and of course, though, they did that thing where they just show a bunch of old footage to pad out the runtime of the trailer. But I think it helped with the emotion and really, making it feel like this is the end. Um, I'm trying not to see the trailer, so I'll leave once we get into it, but I just wanna say I'm loving these chats. Hi, thank you, and I'm sorry, yeah, I know to dig into the trailer, but it's yeah. Sorry to do that for anybody who doesn't want, to watch the trailer ahead of time. But yeah, from what they showed us, I don't think it gives too much away, but technically a little bit. There could be some moments, like, depending on how blind you wanna go in. Um, let's see, 8 Ball 204, it's been so tiring having to defend Kali all over again. I really hope the finale does her justice. Same. And it's like I haven't even bothered at this point yet because I've just been reading everything everyone's saying, and it is truly depressing. Like, it is truly so sad, and just, like, the sheer amount of hate is like, genuinely overwhelming to see and read, to the point where it's like, there's nothing we can say at this point, you know what I mean? It's like they fumbled it so hard, sadly, that it's like people have just people have made their mind up about her. Um, and so the only thing we can really do is hope that the haters do not win in the end and they give her something really noble to do just, for something at this point. Um, and we'll get into that. I'm really starting to wonder why they didn't put a pro shoot of the first Shadow on Netflix. I think we went over this a couple lives ago. I think we came to the conclusion that if they had put a pro shot of it on Netflix, nobody would pay to go see it on Broadway. And so they want to get, butts in the seats, on Broadway. So I think they're probably waiting until the show is off Broadway to put that on Netflix and then hopefully drive more traffic to Netflix and keep, um, Stranger Things in the conversation and everything, so I think we gotta wait until the the first Shadow is done with its Broadway run in order to be able to see it, which is annoying, but, I there's no way I find it very hard to believe, that no pro shot exists. There has to be. There's no way they did not, professionally shoot, the first Shadow. Netflix would not allow that. Uh, only shipping Stolly because it would imply Kali is not Bones by the end of the episode, exactly. But it's so funny, right, though, it's like there's no way, there's no way. I mean, when she had 4 episodes to go, after the cliffhanger in Sorcerer, the possibilities were endless, right? It was like I never actually believed that Stolly could be canon, but, like, the possibilities were endless, right? I'm like, "Oh, we got 4 episodes to work with here," you know what I mean? It's like, that's plenty of time for her to interact with everybody. No. Right? We didn't get that. So, clearly with 1 episode to go, I am not expecting any more Collie and Steve interactions. But who knows? If we could squeeze at least 1 more out of it, that would that would be good. Ah. But yeah. Let's see here. I heard the actor who plays Henry made an appearance, at one of the stage shows. They may have recorded that one. Yeah, I saw that. It was kinda like a big deal. Everybody in the audience went crazy, and I think there were in some of the stuff I saw, I did see some professional cameras, so I'm sure Netflix probably didn't let that go to waste. But, um, alright, let's zoom through some of these and catch up. I think the worst finale wait, I think the worst the finale can be is underwhelming. I seriously doubt it's going to be Game of Thrones level bad. Yeah, everybody's already throwing that around, right? Like everybody's already saying like there's no way this is going to be good. Like it's totally going to be Game of Thrones all over again. And I feel like again, I feel like for some reason Stranger Things is like one of these shows where people just get hypercritical for some reason, and I feel like even if it's just underwhelming, people will probably consider it Game of Thrones level for this show for some reason. Like if it isn't like totally perfect and they leave some things left unsaid or it doesn't feel like things were wrapped up nice enough or just whatever they pull like some weird idea out of nowhere or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it probably will garner that sort of reputation, unfortunately. And also, I think at this point, with the whole internet mob mentality reaction to volume 2, I think many people out there are going into the finale as like a hate watch at this point. Like they're going into it wanting to hate it, I think a lot of people, or they're at least going into it feeling extremely underwhelmed and having, like, very low expectations. So maybe that'll help. You know, maybe if everybody's going into it with really low expectations and then it ends up being, surpassing the low expectations, maybe that'll end up helping. Um, let's see, they should have introduced Kali earlier in the season. I agree. By the time we got to her reveal, it was super exciting, and the idea that, we've gone 8 years with only basically just 1 episode of her, so the idea that we were gonna have at least 4 more was it still felt kind of like enough and exciting, but seeing how they've utilized the episodes is just so disappointing. I'm not digging the Abyss Dimension X. I like the Upside Down and how it hits the Uncanny Valley. The Abyss is almost like a last minute Disney villain twist. Um, I feel like I feel like they did show us it at least, right, in season 4 when Henry first got there and whatever, and with the mind flayer particles and everything. So that is like the yellow landscape land, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that's the Abyss. So it's not like we haven't seen it before, at least. Um, Leo or LHEOO says, "Am I the only one who likes Kali?" No, you are not. I love her. Lots of people in this corner of the internet we've cultivated here love her as well. We are a Kali positivity zone. All right, because someone has to do it, you know? Poor thing. Um, Jay Vasquez, uh they figured out having people keep their subscriptions into the new year was worth the trade-off. Yep. Kali's reveal was immediately overshadowed by the scene that came after it. Unfortunately, I think the release model is not wrong itself, but where the breaks were made and for how long was the problem. Yeah, if it was maybe like week to week, even though I feel like people would probably be annoyed by that as well. It's like, I don't it's like this is the same fandom that was mad that they had to sit through 41 minutes of The Lost Sister to get to the the result of the episode 6 cliffhanger. So I feel like making them wait a month between things is not working. That's just not working. If they couldn't wait 41 minutes, expecting it to go over well with waiting a month in between and then another week in between and whatever. I mean, we should have known it was not gonna help people's moods, you know what I mean? I feel like people are getting like really moody and angry over things much easier because of the wait. And that's why if it doesn't live up to expectations, people are just gonna be even angrier. That it's like, "You made us wait and blah, 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 blah," you know? It's like, "We already had to wait 3 years, and then you make us wait a month, and then you make us wait another week, and then" you know? Yeah. What's your opinion on everyone hating on Millie's acting this season? I think we've gone over the acting bit. I know my hair is bothering me. The wave. Um, I think we've gone over that it's just like the writing has almost have just negatively affected a lot of people's acting this season. There's been a lot of spotty acting moments, so I don't think it's fully on Millie. Obviously, I don't know, I think for a lot of people, some of the line reads have been a little bit more flat affect than they maybe could have been or should have been. um, but I don't hold it against her. Like at this point, it's just like it is what it is. We got to accept the season for what it is. Um, I would have done episodes 1 through 3 at once, Sorcerer at the midpoint, and then the other 3 by Christmas, and then the finale. I think expectations would have been built differently. Oh man, the internet has not been kind to Will, Kali, or Eleven this season. No, they have not. Um, yeah. No, they have not. Uh, for me as a first Shadow fan, I feel similarly to you as Kali. I was so excited for the show to go back to the 50s, only for nothing from the play to show up. Maybe they will be in the finale. There definitely will. There definitely will. Again, sorry, I shouldn't have said that for anybody who didn't want to watch the trailer. But they are hinting. They are hinting. So, um, but yeah, I definitely think uh I definitely think that's happening, but I do feel like it might be too little too late for a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean? It does feel like they're probably gonna cram it into the finale. Um, I was lucky enough to see Titanic on the big screen back on the 25th anniversary. I won't say it must be seen in theaters, but it is a great experience. Yeah, no, I still think it must. Because I remember, like, when the reviews were coming in, um, after the 25th anniversary, a lot of people were saying, like, "I didn't really understand the hype until I saw it in theaters." Um, so I still highly recommend. I also took one of my colleagues at work to see it for the first time in theaters, and even she was like, "Okay." She's like, "I get it." Like, and it was her first time seeing it, and she appreciated it. So I think it's the best option if you can. Um, PCF says, "Hey Britt, I thought volume 2 was okay. And concerned about the finale given how the last 40 minutes are going to be an epilogue, and I think there's going to be many unanswered questions." Yeah, that's my biggest fear going into it for sure. Um, and we will see how they handle it because, obviously there are plenty of 2-hour movies out there in existence that are able to do everything they need to do. They have had 41 minutes, 41 episodes of build up to this, 2-hour movie. So hopefully that is enough to be able to pull it off. But again, when you consider pacing, if they don't get that right, if they don't dedicate enough time to everything, it could they have put themselves into a tough predicament. Yeah, the cruelty toward Kali is out of hand. It is, and again, we will get into some of that, but it is really getting to me. It is, like, getting under my skin, I feel so bad. Um, Kali's writing doesn't feel like the promised character expansion and deepening. I don't think the Duffers had a clear and fully realized idea of what to do with her after bringing her back. Yeah, and what's annoying to me is that they made it seem like they did. And that is what's frustrating. Like, everything they said in interviews and stuff, oh, they really made it seem like this was gonna be incredible. And I'm just like, wow, to see that this is what we got is just kinda like, there's no way that they genuinely thought that what we've gotten so far was good enough and would redeem her in the eyes of her haters. Like, I don't know. Um, Man, they better give us a Kali novel or graphic novel to make up for all this. For real, I would take that because I know there's the Into the Fire comic with her. Um, but yeah, I feel like between, like, Tales of 85 that's coming out, the animated show, between that and then maybe something else like a novel, maybe they can give us something, either on that show or whatever to give her a little bit more. Um, I missed the possibilities at the end of episode 4, same. I love the Duffers' writing, but I will say they don't handle character interactions very well because Kali is just there with the group and never introduced to anyone. She's just in the shadows. I know, and that's not helping with people's opinion of her because it just makes her look more shady. The fact that she's not really contributing, she's not like whatever. And I've seen people say, maybe it's simply because, she has her own plan with Elle and she doesn't want to, overstep or like let anybody catch on to the fact that they have something else planned or whatever, I don't know. Um, but it does make her seem suspect, you know what I mean? It's not helping. If they do have something good planned for her in the finale, like the build up to that has been awful. Again, to the point where if she does do something like amazing and useful and helpful and kind and noble and selfless in the end, like people won't really care. And that's awful. Um Hello, sorry I'm late. Ended up missing the last live stream, but caught up on it earlier today. Hope you enjoy the finale. Thanks, Spider Bat fan. Um, I think people undersell his truly bad how truly bad the Game of Thrones and Lost finales were. It truly bewilders me how those can be outdone. Yeah. Um, I really wonder what the Duffers' plan was for bringing Kali back. Like, was the goal to actually give hate fans of two non-white side guest female characters to dump on? Yeah, it's a very layered situation, which again we'll get into, but like the way they've written her almost does feel irresponsible on some level. Like especially like knowing how hated she was going into this return, you know? Um, the fact that The Lost Sister is no longer the worst rated episode, but at what cost? Exactly. And I was thinking about that too, like, the fact that they have, you know, negatively rated that episode into oblivion. I've seen people realizing now that like, oops, maybe that wasn't a good idea. We need to like counteract and like make it look better. But it's like so much damage has been done to the rating of that episode. Oh god, why am I burping and hiccuping? So much damage has been done um to the rating of that episode that it's gonna take like hundreds and thousands of positive reviews now to make it in order for The Lost Sister to become the lowest rated again, or if Kali were to become the traitor in the end or something like that, then that would probably people would end up going back to the Lost Sister and rating it worse again too. So so we'll see, but I swear if Kali is a traitor, she better be a total badass supervillain. If they wasted both Kali's return and Linder, there I go again with my Boston accent saying Linder instead of Linda. If they wasted both Kali's return and Linda Hamilton's Dr. K, then just what are we doing? Same. Same. It is tough. Last live stream, you said something like not feeling it with Karen in the basement. I have to agree. For me, I felt no longer danger in that moment for anyone, thus making me feel nothing for her saving them. Yeah, it's just weird, right? Like just like the way a lot of the things have played out has just felt very like I can't explain it. Like just feeling a little bit off to the point where things just kind of feel a little goofy. Like you know what I mean? Like I can't explain it, but her like waddling into the laundromat room or whatever like was kind of just like okay. And then again I said having the demo dog actually act like a dog and look at the thing and go, "Huh?" before it blows up. Like everything it just made everything feel bizarre and just like we're not supposed to take it too seriously. Um yeah, I don't know. Uh that and Vecna only sent 3 demodogs to the hospital. What? Yeah, and the way the demodogs just kinda seemed a little dumb, like, the way, like, they're chasing them down to get into this room, and then when they're finally hiding and they still got the music playing, suddenly the demodogs are like, "Where could they be? Let's now it's time to move very slowly." Like, it is just kinda like what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, and I hate to be nitpicky, but it is those moments where you that do stand out to me as feeling like, what has happened to the writing exactly? And, people complain about there being low stakes, and it's moments like that that cause that feeling. It's not necessarily the fact that nobody's dying, it's the fact that like these random little decisions are made that ultimately add up to just not feeling very dangerous or life or death, Um, even though it's clearly supposed to feel that way. Um, yeah. I watched a pretty good video yesterday. I think it was by My Little Thought Tree. I think that's the name of the channel, and it was called The Big Problem with Stranger Things season 5. Um, and he basically talked about how there have been a lot of times where well, aside from the group constantly, almost in every episode, coming up with a plan and trying to execute the plan, and then something happening, and then coming up with another plan, like, just so many plans being made the whole season. Aside from that kind of causing the story to, like, lose its luster because there's just so many plans going on. You know what I mean? It's like instead of there being, like, one master plan that we eventually build to, there's just so many little plans that it just kinda makes everything fall a little bit flat. That there's also or also it causes things to just feel very repetitive. There's also the aspect of, like, things feeling like they're leading somewhere and then they kinda don't lead anywhere, and then they kinda feel like they're leading somewhere again, and then they don't really lead anywhere again, and then it's I recommend that video. It was interesting. And I think the example that stood out to me was when he said that, Holly was making it through, to this escape, like, really trying to make it out only to immediately be taken back, right back to where she was. Um, and that does kinda create this weird feeling as you're watching it of, like, it feels like we're going in circles. Um, but I actually enjoyed Millie's more stoic depiction of Jane this season. I've interpreted it as her playing the character as more mature, independent, and centered. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, People are blaming Millie's bad acting on plastic surgery, though. I know, I've seen that. And people are making, like, awful edits of her face and stuff. It's like, people are the worst. Like, people are the worst. Again, between Elle, Will, and Kali, like, the treatment of these characters by viewers online this season is just awful. Um, what I wanted was a trio of psionic super friends team up with Jane, Will, and Kali, but I'll take supervillain over she keeps just standing around, barely using her powers and dies, right? But unfortunately, that is very much what we might end up getting. Uh, ANO, and I have a lot more thoughts on that. Again, I'm just kinda trying to get through some other stuff before I get to that because I have a whole, um, note on my notes app that I've been putting all my thoughts of. So, the moment the moment in the cave with the scientist was mentioned in the play and obviously a big part of Henry's story. So are we going to go into things from the play now? Yeah, I think we are. Um, there's a lot of pressure. I hope they make a reference to the butterfly part of the Lost Sister in the finale. Um, let's see. Let's jump in. Sorry, guys. Jumping around. I will say they were able to endear us to Derek in one episode, so it's still possible that Kali has an ace up her sleeve. I'm not holding my breath, but I won't be surprised if an upset is pulled. Yeah. uh, I've seen people say that the downvotes for episode 7 are 50-50 from homophobes and Byler fans. BS, so disgusting to see us lumped in with literal homophobes. I mean, from what I've seen on social media, there was a movement by Byler fans, at least on TikTok and elsewhere, that said, "Go to IMDb and downvote episode 7," because they were unhappy with Will's coming out scene and unsatisfied by the fact that it seemed as though Byler was not going to be canon. I have seen that with my own eyes, and everybody, rallying up the troops to go do that. And now suddenly realizing that they have been negatively rating the episode alongside homophobes and that now that's not a good look for, like, future queer representation. So now I think a lot of the Byler fans that were doing that are now trying to counteract it with positive reviews. But, it's been a journey there. Um, I will say, let's see, at this moment, the only version of selflessness for Kali would be for her to die, but without the proper emotional payoff because she hasn't had full conversations with anyone besides Elle. Exactly. Ah, I don't understand the people who are only now learning that Will is gay. I mean, honestly. Um, yeah, they also did it with Steve in the season 1 finale. They gave him that moment. Um, but again, like people just hate Kali. Like they just hate her. And I really don't know if there's like anything they could do to make that change at this point. There is just like if you read what people say about her, there is a true just level of nastiness to what they say that like I can't even explain it. It's just like pure actual hatred. Like, and it's so disheartening to read. Um, and so the fact that they haven't even bothered to challenge that for people is is very yeah, very upsetting. I'm honestly nervous for this finale. I don't know what to expect. I just hope they nail these 2 hours to save the season. You have 2 hours to wrap everything up. I know. Um, there's definitely a goofy, unserious vibe to the season. Um, the Tema Dogs versus the Dryer might as well be a Scooby Doo scene. Ruh-roh. Yep. I honestly hate feeling this, but I just feel like having Karen save them in the basement was done so they could have a social media moment of Karen saving them. I mean, they are doing that, right? They isolated it and they're saying like Karen effing Wheeler, and it's like, all right. And it's like I kind of felt the same way about, the never ending story scene in season 3. Like that genuinely felt like they put that in there just so they could have like this viral meme moment. And then of course that's what it became. You know what I mean? And so just some of these things, I think I've seen the criticism too of like some parts of the later seasons and maybe this season as well, just feeling like like excuse me, like a collection of moments and good scenes and stuff instead of like a true like story that feels well thought out and whatnot, you know? Um, After watching the new finale trailer, I think 11 is going to live at the end. Me too. I don't think there was ever a universe where they would kill her off. You know, if they're too afraid to kill Ted Wheeler so far, as far as we know, I don't think they would suddenly kill off 11. I mean, unless, they say they do want to make their deaths matter. So, perhaps in the end, if they truly feel like 11 dying is the way to end the story for some reason, then who knows? But might be unpopular, but Kali's views are not unreasonable, although they are grim and gloomy, for sure. And and that's definitely what people don't like. People are saying she's just the most Debbie Downer character ever. She sucks. She's the worst. And it's like, hello, they have shown you all of the dehumanizing abuse she has experienced and that she has watched her friends be killed in front of her. And it's like, what? People are expecting her to not have the opposite view of Mike's, sunshine and rainbows idea. You know what I mean? Obviously, she's not gonna have that viewpoint. Obviously, she's gonna be the character to challenge that, you know? It does make sense. But unfortunately, because of how hated she already is, writing her in a more realistic, complex way, has not gone over well with viewers. People do not allow Kali, uh, they don't actually bother analyzing her character. They take everything she says and does at face value. But not even at face value because they're like putting words in her mouth, like, and jumping to extremely awful conclusions. They are assuming that she's lying about the pregnant women and all this stuff. Like, why? You know what I mean? Especially with only 1 episode left. They're like, "I don't believe her. She lied about that." And it's like, there was nothing to imply that what she said was a lie, other than, like, the fact that she does manipulate people with her powers, but I don't know. It really does feel like they set Kali up, and it hurts. It hurts. It really hurts. Um, Vecna claims to be at his most powerful, but the writing shies away from showing that. Um, hmm. They have to create nonsensical ways to save the characters because they refuse to kill off. Um, let's see here. Yeah, where the heck is Owens? Honestly, we were talking about that in the last chat. I can't believe it. Doesn't feel stoic to me, it just feels bland. Yeah, all she did was say, "Max, you're here." Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Like, after the devastation we saw over Max at the end of season 4, the reunion did definitely leave a lot to be desired. Now we got a lot of messages in here today, guys. Um it's not a story about it's not a story about queer romance or something. It's a supernatural story first and foremost, regardless of the ships. What's really needed is a satisfactory conclusion to the story. I mean, it all ties together, like the relationships are what makes the story feel that much more richer. But it is definitely like the story overall needs to land. Um, I think what made the show so special is that whether they were battling the mystical or not, we knew these characters' lives, but now that intimacy is at odds with the stakes they're trying to build. Yeah, and I was saying, like, with this switch in the approach to the writing, like, the overwhelming use of exposition and stuff, um, I feel like the difference was the way I've been describing it is, like, the difference is that, like, in the first 2 seasons, even the 3rd one to a degree, um, but not so much because they already told us most of everything in the beginning of the season, but, um, basically, I'll keep it to the first 2 seasons. You felt like you were really living with the characters and figuring out everything as they were figuring it out, and because of that, it helped make the experience way more engaging, and then we've gone over again, like, there was a lot more showing you and not just telling you, and you were just, like, going on the journey with the characters, and, um, they were using the visual medium of a television show to show you, right? And now it feels like we're just kind of watching the characters. We're not really living with them. We're just sort of watching them do stuff and having them tell us stuff. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's creating like a weird experience, and it also diminishes the rewatch value, because I'm saying, like, why are you gonna rewatch the season when it's mostly just, like, the characters explaining things? And it's like, okay, once you understand the explanations and, like, once you understand what's going on, rewatching it is just you're just sitting there, like, rewatching them explaining stuff you know. And so it creates, like, a weird thing where it's like I haven't felt very compelled to rewatch season 5 because it feels like less of a journey and more of just, like, learning information, and then once you know the information, why rewatch it? Like, you know what I mean? Because there's no real, like, visual story that you can, like, rewatch and get, sucked into again. Um, so, yeah, and one of the things I was thinking about was the fact that they're doing like, when they say "show, don't tell," or, like, "tell, don't show," like, do, like, one or the other, but, like, you can, like, tell people something, sure, but I feel like, and that's fine, that's one way to tell a story, uh, but I think you gotta do one or the other, and something that they've been doing that I think has been a flaw that's, like, bothering me, is that they've been showing and telling at the same time, and it You okay? What happened? Alright, you guys, hang on, my mom fell. Oh my god. Ma. Ma, what? Can you get up? I fell over like whatever. I just had to leave the chat. Go back. No. I'm afraid of my hip. Where? What did right on my hip. What did you hit? In my whole side. How? My knees, how my did hip. You fall? Oh, well, he wouldn't get out of the way. Did you hit your head? No. Oh my god. Oh. Are you sure you're gonna be okay? My hip. Are you sure you're gonna be okay? Yeah. But it's your hip replacement hip? Yeah. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. This is not fun. Oh. I was trying to get up to get the food. Do you need help you? Oh my god, please don't let it hurt. Do you need help? Do you need me to help you? Yeah, I'm not gonna get up. I gotta lean on something. Give me the footstool. Oh. This way. Oh god. How am I gonna do it? Lean on that. Ready? You sure you can get me? Yes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Come on. Oh my god. I can't. Let's get you on the couch. Let it go. Oh, my knees. Oh, okay, you can go back. Are you sure? Yeah. Uh, oh, that was hot. I mean, really hot. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Oh my goodness. My mom had a hip replacement recently. Um, that's never good to see. Because she's she probably doesn't want me to say her age, but she's getting up there, but but she's a very young getting up there, you know? She does not look her age. She seems very young, and so these sorts of moments are very few and far between, but when they happen, it's like it's scary. So, all right, Lila, I'll let you out. It's like scary reality checks when this happens. Um, all right. I see a lot of hearts coming in. I think that's uh thank you. Um the damage they have done to her character is irreparable and it's deeply disturbing and upsetting. It is disturbing. Like that is the word. Like ugh. Like I'll get my phone. Hang on. I don't want to put other creative let's see other creatives or creators on blast for some of the things they're saying, but it is disgusting to me. Like there's something like deeply unsettling about the way they speak about her, um, to the point where it's just like I don't know, like it's just it's so disheartening and like I yeah, there are like no words, honestly. Um, and I say mostly because of the fact that they have shown you what she's gone through. Um, they have given you the context and information on her to understand her point of view. Um, but people don't care. They don't there's something about her where they just do not care. Um I never hated Kali. Her actress is I mean her character is understandable and relatable in my view even if this view is not popular. Yeah, it's better to see a lot of um wait, sorry, I lost it. I scrolled back up to see some of the, comments about my mom. Thank you, guys. Um, she's alright. We got her off the floor. Oh, no. Mom. Uh, yeah, she was literally just in the other room, just, like, watching the chat on her phone. She's so cute. Um that's why I have 0 desire to watch any reactions to the show, especially by men/GA watchers, no shade. Um, are you talking about Kali? Yes. You're probably the best Stranger Things person for online content. Whenever I think I find people with good opinions, they basically show they're homophobic by how they talk about the coming out scene. Yeah, like, the overreaction to that has been ridiculous, like, at this point. Like, again, do I see the complaints of maybe it going on a little too long or whatever? Like, maybe, but it's again, it's just, like, so overblown, which we've seen time and time again with the reaction to things with this show. Just, like, completely out of proportion, things get blown, and it's like, ugh, but thank you. Uh, that or people who don't understand Collier simply hate her. You're the best I've found. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I have taken it upon myself at this point because man, audiences see Kali in troubling ways because they decided 8 years ago that she was nothing more than a nuisance. Yeah, pretty much. And again, it was sad because people had said, like, after episode 4, people started getting on board with her because the reveal was really good. And again, it seemed like there were so many possibilities. And now that we're back and they've given us what they've given us, people are right back to hating her. Um, and again, it does feel like they have decided to literally just give people reasons to hate her, which is annoying. They don't afford her any depth. Yeah. The writers are not helping that misconception. I wish Will and Kali bonded more this season. I mean, I wish Kali and a lot of other people bonded more this season. Even though in season 2 they did treat her character with enough nuance and respect, but they have lost context for her, it seems. I thought the scene would have been better without as many people around, but it was still written and performed well by Noah. Also, would have been better if we saw what Will saw that made him scared. Yeah, that's the thing too, right? Like, this is the whole, thing that I've talked about with, like, uh, the show and Show Don't Tell and all this stuff, it seems as though they're either choosing to just tell us things or show and tell us things at the same time, instead of just showing us, which is, like, kinda driving me crazy, and this is what I was saying, I think this is what I was saying before my mom fell, which is when you I think we talked about it a couple chats before, like, with the flashbacks they gave us with the storytelling in season 2, was there any telling in those flashbacks? Was there voiceover in those flashbacks? No, there was not, right? What they're doing now is they give us flashbacks with narration. It's like, we don't need both. Like we don't need both. And like with the way they're doing that, it's making it feel I can't explain it does almost feel it does feel like it is being dumbed down a little bit. Like they're not trusting the audience to be able to just see things and understand it. It's like we have to show you and we also have to hold your hand and tell you everything that's happening on screen at the same time. And that's like it's bothering me when I watch it because I'm like, okay, like you don't have to tell us, you just show us. Like, could you imagine? And this is the same with the flashbacks in season one as well, that we've mentioned before. Like the way we learned about Elle's time in the lab via just these ominous kind of like somber flashbacks. Not a single, piece of exposition in the flashbacks or narration over the flashbacks. Like, could you imagine if in the flashbacks of Elle's time in the lab that we got in season 1, if we also had Elle doing voiceover like, "I was at the lab. Papa tried to make me kill a cat, and I couldn't do it. Then they put me into a cell where I was by myself." Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't need that. You don't need it, and it really does it makes it feel like they don't trust the audience to, like, be able to just watch a scene and understand what's happening. Um, and it's like the way they had Kali do that, like, they took me, they killed my friends, it's like they needed my blood and they took it over and over again. It's like, yeah, if you just showed us the flashback without her saying that, it's like we could have understood it. You know what I mean? And so there's like this weird disconnect for me when I'm watching it and they do that. It just makes me feel like they're talking down to me and I don't like it. You know what I mean? Um your 11 impression, that was good. I wasn't even trying. That wasn't that was not a serious attempt. Oh my gosh. Uh Yeah, but again, it's like there's the same thing of even though they're telling everybody everything and showing everybody everything, people are still walking away confused about certain things, and that's even worse, honestly. Like someone said in his coming out scene, he told why he was doing it, but people are still saying it's unwarranted even though the show directly demonstrated why he's doing it. Exactly. Exactly. Um, yeah. It's it sure has taken a turn, for like as far as like people's digestion or whatever of this show, where it's like, I don't know how we got here, where it's like nobody knows what's going on. Um, they used Billy to show us the interracial hate, though. That was there, even though lots of racist Stranger Things fans deny that Billy was racist. Yep. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's crazy how, um, you know, a character like Billy can be can be viewed and given the opportunity to be properly analyzed and consider to be complex because oh, he was abused by his dad, so like you have to think about that. It's just he's contributing to like this cycle of abuse, and like whatever, whatever. In the end, he did a noble thing, and, like, his poor, mom left him and, like, whatever, and it's like, okay, that doesn't suddenly that doesn't explain his racism. Like, you know what I mean? That doesn't explain or excuse why he was racist to Lucas, but people almost act like it does, and it almost, his sacrifice absolves him of that, and there are people who, like, straight up love Billy and think he's, like, just such a great character, and they defend him, and they try to act like he wasn't racist and all this stuff. People bend over backwards defending that character, right? And it's like, I see the nuance, sure, like, some of it's there, I'm not gonna deny that, but they go too far with it to try to, like, act like, Billy was actually this great person who was just, like, so misunderstood or whatever. But then you have Collie, who they have shown is a victim of, like, awful, dehumanizing, horrific abuse, you know what I mean? Has come from the same system as Eleven, um, or L. I know, sorry. The name 11 is just, like, so iconic to the character that, like, sometimes I still say the full name, even though I know a lot of people don't like it. Um, but, has come from the same, system as L, and, like, everybody has all the sympathy in the world for L, but when it comes to Kali, it's like they're showing you this, they are showing you all that she's gone through. Her friends were just killed in front of her, like, whatever, whatever. It should be understandable, you know, but she does not get the same amount of grace at all. She doesn't get any. She does not get any sympathy whatsoever. Yet I said people bend over backwards to paint Billy as this, a misunderstood character, but Kali, it's just she's the worst. She sucks. She needs to die. Hopper needs to shoot her in the head. Like, that is what people are saying. Um, and we've talked about misogyny playing a role, racism playing a role, which I also have seen coming out in droves. Like I said, the fact that I have not seen I've never seen the word bitch thrown around more than I have been seeing it in the last couple days towards Kali. And that is what I mean when it's like the the level of disgusting vitriol that's being thrown at her. There's no other interpretation of it when you see what people are reading. Like, throwing around that word so much, so nastily, it's like it's like, what other conclusion would you like me to come to here? You know what I mean? Of why you hate her. Um, and, like, and yeah, and again, I've been seeing, like, people be, saying, like, racist stuff about Indian people about her. And they're making fun of her looks, and they're making fun of her height. That's one thing they're doing to, like, make her a laughing stock or whatever, and it's like, this poor girl, and honestly, uh, as we're on this, I took a screenshot or I've been taking screenshots of some of the discourse I've seen, and it's just so annoying. So, this was on Instagram. It was a clip of the video where she's just sort of, like, standing there, and it says, "Why is she so small?" Right? And then one of the top comments is, "People hate her more than Vecna," with an arrow pointing to the heart button, so it's like, this is the button for people who hate her more than Vecna. 21.8 thousand likes on the comment, for tap here, people who hate her more than Vecna. And then the first reply to that comment says, "We don't hate number one. He's so fine." With the flame emoji to imply that they don't hate him because he's hot. So he can get away with being a child predator and a mass murderer and a destroyer of worlds, and will most likely be getting some sort of like low key, like redemption of some sort in the finale, and will probably get a lot of sympathy from viewers. But yet, we got Kali over here with people hating her more than Vecna. And there's no way that even if she dies, that she will get sympathy. People won't care. It's just, you know. And again, we have more comments here. And this is another thing why I said I had taken issue with the writing. And the way they have written Hopper to be so suspicious of her. A comment with 28.3 thousand likes says, if Hopper has a bad feeling about her, so do I. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's why I said with like the way they've written it, all they've done is give the audience permission to feel the same way as Hopper, who has gone so far as to say that he will kill her, right? So we're seeing droves of people now commenting like, I will personally like jump through the screen and kill her myself, like blah 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 blah. And it's like, God, you know what I mean? Like, and again, just certain creators, again, like I said on TikTok, I don't want to be like putting people on blast because I don't want people to go to these people and like hate on them or whatever. But like the things they say, I mean, I do feel like this stuff should be documented, honestly. So I will at least let the audio of this play. I don't like and I don't like the way people, especially for Kali, most people do not use her name when they talk about her. Like they call her number 8. And I think that says a lot too. You know what I mean? Like they don't even bother using her, you know, actual human name very often. And when they do use her human name, they mispronounce it. They call her Callie, which like bothers me. It's like a small mispronunciation, but like it's Kali. But like they don't even care. They don't care to pronounce her name correctly, and they don't even care to say her name a lot of the time. They just say number 8. But anyway, so this is what one creator had to say, and it was like really bothering me. And just tell me you don't feel like, why do we feel this like strongly? Like why? Especially after everything they've shown us about her.
Callie. I don't like number 8. I don't like her as a character. I know why they brought her back for like storyline purposes, but I don't like her. I do not like her. And I'm gonna preach this for the next week until we get the finale of Stranger Things, or the next 5 days. I don't like Callie. She's corrupting Eleven's mind. She's changing her thoughts. She's making her think things, and she's just kind of messing with everyone. Like, I don't like the way she's acting. She's acting sus. She's acting suspect. And I just get her out of there. I need Hopper to like shoot her in the head or something. I don't like Callie. I don't like her at all. She's just one of those characters. Yes, they had her in like the worst episode of Stranger Things history. They had Callie in the worst episode of Stranger Things, and they brought her back for the final season. Just doesn't really sit right with me. Yes, storyline purposes once again. But still, I hope she doesn't make it out of the finale. I hope she dies. Please don't kill 11. Like, please, I know it's probably going to happen. Please don't kill 11. Like kill Callie. Kill her. Like, I don't care. But don't kill 11. Please. What do you guys think of Callie? Do you guys like her?
Literally begging for her death at this point. And that's the narrative. That's the narrative, you know? So I'm like, it sadly does not matter even if she sacrifices herself, um, in a good or noble way in the end because you heard him. I don't care. He just repeated, like, "Kill her." They are asking for it. So if she dies, people are going to be celebrating. Even if she does something good, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's too bad, but I don't care." And it's like, ugh, to say, like, I hope she doesn't make it out of the finale, like, and I'm seeing people um, on Reddit and stuff too, which, you know, obviously Reddit isn't the greatest place ever, but, you know, I frequent the subreddit and stuff and read a lot of things that people are saying, um, and people are just saying, like, "It sucks that Kali's there, like, get her out of there, like, blah, blah, blah. They should've, um, you know, never brought it back," and all this stuff, and it's just like, I don't know. Again, I mean, I can read again, I took screenshots as well of other stuff people were saying because I was like, I just can't believe some of the things that people are saying. So this was on Reddit. Honestly, the ultimate doom and gloom character, and we all know how it's gonna happen anyway. At the last second, uh, L at the last second is just gonna say, "No, I have something to live for." Cue some last second escape scene and stupid 8 dies once again, not calling her by her name. They didn't even write out EIGHT or whatever. Did I just spell 8 wrong? Anyway, they didn't even spell out the number. They wrote 008. And stupid 008 dies. Sorry, worst written character ever. It's just more, hi, I'm back to kill the mood even more. Hell, what if Hopper clips her ass and grabs L? Now that's something I'd be down for. I don't even put it beyond her making illusions of Mike's funeral and BS because she even made one of L all hooked up, pale and hopeless. This chick is just evil. Yeah. Another one on Reddit. Why the F is she listening to this 008 mother effer over everyone that are her true friends? I swear, she will honestly go down as one of the most hated Debbie Downers, she starters in the history of characters. You know, it's like this is the narrative, you guys. Like, this is what is happening online, and again, the overwhelming narrative of just, "She's working with Vecna, I just can't prove it." You know what I mean? Like, mm. That is such BS. As I said, Kali wants to stop further suffering for future kids, and she is willing to die for it. It is a selfless and generous character, and it's like, that's I know, if you take excuse me, if we take Kali at her word, um, that is what she's doing. Like, she is like she's so desperate, um, for Elle to join her because she knows that Elle is the person who is the most like Henry or whatever, and her blood would be the most able to work, you know? So she's like, in order to make sure that this never happens again, it's like Elle would technically need to sacrifice herself. Like, that's sort of where we're at. And Kali apparently just really does not want it to happen again. So she kind of has no choice but to try to convince Elle to do it with her. And it's like, I understand, but then it's unfortunately giving a lot of, like, gray area for people to interpret this in different ways, and I don't like it either because now the haters are getting into my mind, and I'm starting to think, do we genuinely need to entertain the idea and prepare ourselves for her potentially being a villain? Because once again, she's just getting blamed for everything. So we have to um we have to consider this, and I hate that, but because this is the conclusion that literally everybody has come to, except for the few of us that are trying to understand where her character is coming from. Um, you know, people take Elle being the one who has the blood that could work, or whatever, they're taking it as, okay, well, no, Kali is she's working with Vecna because she wants to get Elle out of the picture because Elle is one of the only people who can stop Henry or whatever. And if she's out of the picture, then he'll be able to take over the world. And then Kali's just going to reveal that she's been trying to help him this whole time and she's going to join him after 11 dies. And like, she's going to project an illusion of herself to make Elle think that she's, on her side, and then whatever, like, you know what I mean? They're bending over backwards to interpret everything that she's doing as just pure evil. Um, and and so even my best friend is like fully on the train of Kali being evil and that I have to accept it and that I have to prepare for it. That, you know, that's the way it's gonna go. And and I feel like, um, I don't know. I keep losing my train of thought, but I'm gonna pull up my notes app now because I did write a lot of thoughts here. But let me just take another look. Um, her powers should be used in the fight against Vecna. That's what I'm saying. Like, her powers were used escaping the base and the upside down ruse. Um, there's not been a time for her to use them since, but there will be now. Um, it's not rocket science. She's just an extremely unlikable character that hasn't done anything redeemable. Her powers haven't been used. They didn't need to reintroduce her. The writing is terrible. Again, though, but it's like extremely unlikable. And it's like, okay, but me and a bunch of other people that we're in a minority, but we like her. I just think it's like, I think the writing makes it easy for people to not like her. But it's not like they haven't put enough in there to paint her as a complex figure. You know what I mean? Like, I have never thought it has n I it has never once struck me that, like, Kali is supposed to be a character you hate. Like, she has always been, like, a sympathetic character to me. But, like, you know what I mean? But she just hasn't been for everybody else. I don't know. But I'm telling you, like, I keep saying, but, like, by the last frame of The Lost Sister or the last time we see her in The Lost Sister, again, this is a show not tell I mean, show don't tell moment that maybe, maybe people needed some voiceover from her over there explaining how she felt. But to me, that final shot of her, that that showed you a broken person who is trying, who was hopefully, like, learning something from her time. with Elle. That is what I always got from that, and I've always felt genuinely awful for her by the end of that episode. Um, and I think it was put in there for that reason, and I think they are showing you these flashbacks of her in season 5, for this reason as well. Like, I don't think they would be bothering to show you what she's gone through and showing her crying, getting her head shaved, and, like, all this stuff if you weren't supposed to have some sympathy for her. You know what I mean? Um, but I agree that, since bringing her back, that they have not done a good enough job to make her feel valued, um, and, and needed, and I say it is so crazy that, um, they've written it in such a way where our Hawkins group does not even care that they have another superpowered individual on their side, evidently, you know what I mean? Like, she's here acting like she's here to help right now, you know what I mean? And we got not a single reaction from, like, anybody of being like, "Whoa, like, I thought all the other test subjects were dead, like, we have, like, another L to help us basically," or, like, whatever, like, they have done nothing to show that she is, like, valued in this universe, you know what I mean? They've shown none of our characters bothering to interact with her or get to know her or, like, work with her other than Elle or whatever. And that, like, one little back and forth she had with Steve, which didn't even really mean anything, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm just saying it's like she's just there. And again, people are using that as ammo to make her more suspicious of like, why is she just standing around? It seems like she's just listening into everything. Is she a spy? Is she gonna turn around and like share everything she knows to Vecna? Is she actually the mind flayer? Like they're saying like all this crazy stuff. Like not a single theory that I've read about Kali has been positive. You know what I mean? And it's like just everything about the way they've handled her return has not been helpful for her character, and I just don't get it because, like and this is, like I'm having another one of these moments where it's kinda like the experience I had for, like, the last 8 years, leading up to her finally returning, and the feeling was that, over 8 years the haters were in my head constantly saying, "She's never coming back. Get over it. Like, she's the drop storyline. She's never coming back." And that was the narrative, right? That was what everyone was saying. And then I was just by my little own, by on, on my own, um, thinking to myself, considering that idea and imagining it and like actually thinking like, could they make it to the end of the show without ever mentioning her again? And the answer was no. You know what I mean? I was in my head and so I was constantly like listening to the narrative of what everyone thinks, but then thinking at the same time, like considering it, but then being like, there's no way. No, like, I'm sorry, there's no way that they can't bring her back, right? And then, of course, they brought her back. And now I'm experiencing the same thing again, where it's like everybody is saying she's gonna be evil. And, like, everybody's saying it, like and, expecting the worst of her, and I'm having the moment again where, like, I'm considering it, I'm trying to picture it, and the answer is no. I'm just like, "I can't." There's no way they brought her back to do that. And again, I've said before that it was just such a delicate situation to bring her back in the first place, and they have not handled it well. They have not handled it well. Um, Uh, Sorry, scrolling back up. Sorry for the rant, but I've just there's just been so much on my in my mind about this because it just was such a big um such a big swing, as the Duffers said, to bring her back, and then for this to be how it's playing out is just uh and again, and this is why I'm just saying, I'm I don't know. I'm sorry, like, I don't wanna harp on it too much, but it's just been weighing on my mind, these last few days, and the fear of, like, tuning in tomorrow night and her potentially being a villain, you know? Blades of Munch said, "Sorry, gotta go, but I'll listen to the recording later. Happy New Year. See you after the finale. Bye." I don't understand why the writers brought in Dr. K. There's simply no chance they can wrap everything up in 2 hours. I know, we'll see. But again, like, literally, um, there's just I don't know. If it's not clear already, I don't find Collie's return irrelevant. In fact, it is very important, but since the writing is so crammed, perhaps it was not conveyed well enough. No, it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't. Um, all Elle wanted is acceptance. This girl is basically saying that that won't happen and to give up. Like, yes, I get it, but there is a reality to what she is saying. Like, think about it. They ended up finding Elle in season 4, right? Um, Granted it was because the cops arrived right after she hit Angela. Um, but there's always the opportunity. I mean, there's always the chance, right? Um, and I think they had Kali say that, right? She was like, "Maybe you'll be safe or, like, fine for a little while, but, like, it will catch up to you at some point," right? Like, as long as they believe that she is out there, they will be looking for her, and that's the thing, it's like, is that a happy life? Is that a happy life to just always be living in fear and stress and, like, technically in hiding all the time, like, not really feeling like you can live a full life because if you do, you might be too easily detected and could be found by someone and then just taken, and then your existence would cause the suffering of other children in the future. You know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing. Like, that's the thing that's, like, making me feel so bad for, characters like Kali and Elle. It's that it's like their existence is what could cause the, you know, devastation and awful abuse and life for other children in the future. And it's like, do you want to keep living? Like, is that selfish for you to maybe want to keep living if you knew that your existence could potentially cause a horrible life for other kids in the future, like, sort of thing, you know what I mean? It's like you're taking that risk of, like of staying alive and risking getting caught again someday, and then this happening, the cycle continuing to happen. And you're risking the lives of your friends and family, you know, because um if we, you know, are to believe everything that Kali has told us, which as of right now, I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm not gonna be like these other people out there who are trying to assume she's lying. You know what I mean? So, like, it has already happened to her. She has seen her friends get killed in front of her and her get taken away. So, and again, granted, she technically was bringing attention to herself by by going around and killing former Hawkins Lab employees. Okay, she wasn't exactly trying to go undetected. I get it. But still, she has watched her friends get killed by these people. Um, and so it's clear that they will do what they need to do to get to um the uh to get to the what was I saying? Oh my gosh. I completely lost my train of thought. You just watched me in real time completely lose my train of thought. Because I saw some things coming in and I was like starting to read a little bit. Um, but yeah, basically like um she saw her friends get killed in front of her, so that is a possibility. We've seen that they will do whatever they can to try to get to the these people they believe can be weapons for them, right? So, yeah, and so that means potentially killing your friends and family to get to you, you know, and so that's another risk, and there's so much pressure in that concept, but I don't think it's they haven't really fleshed it out enough. Just joined the live. I adore you, Brit. Completely understand where Kali is coming from. I thought Kali's return was going to show us how well Jane flourishes with someone who truly understands what she's been through, right? And like that's what like Millie's interviews made it seem that way too, which is like weird. And again, they were like hyping it up, like getting me excited to expect a very different take on this, but um not sure if they're going to incorporate time travel, but references to Back to the Future make me doubt it. I think they probably are, and there's maybe still time. I don't know if again though, that's why I said I am worried about how they're gonna cram everything into this finale because there is just there is just so much, and if they do attempt time travel, the implications of that, like what the outcome. You know, I wouldn't necessarily mind time travel as long as our main characters got to keep their memories somehow, because if they lose their memories, then it will that will just end up being the equivalent of it was all a dream. If they go back to, before Henry met the mind flayer or like before, whatever, and like stopped all this from happening, that would mean that like nobody ever met each other, all this stuff. It's like, yeah, ugh, can't do it. Britt, I'm just confused. It seems very important to you that Kali is Kali and not 8, but you seem to prefer L to Jane. Season 2 is what strongly convinced me to always say Jane. Kali insists Jane. Why do you prefer L? I think at this point, 10 years in, it's just like I don't want to say a habit, but I mean it's like everybody calls her L. And I think like she even introduced herself as Elle very sternly at one point in season 3, right? When Billy was like, "I didn't get your name," and she says, "Elle," right? I think it's been a name that she has embraced and reclaimed as a humanized name because it is the name that Mike gave her as a way to humanize her. Um, you know? And so and that I think they have shown in the past as well that that moment meant a lot to her, like, when she thinks back to her home in, in The Lost Sisters, one of the first memories she thinks of is Mike saying, "Maybe we could call you Elle," and it's just like it's just I don't know. I think the connection to that nickname is kind of sweet because it isn't 11, like, yes, it's short for 11, but it was a very, like, cute way that, Mike as a kid, it was his first thought to, like, not call her a number, it was, like, to give her a nickname, like, to give her, like, something that makes her feel, more like a person and not a number, you know what I mean? And um, so I think it has, like, I think the name Elle has, like, a sweet connotation to it because of that. Um, but yeah, and I think it's just because the only other times we've heard her be called Jane was like, in those moments where she's trying to like assimilate and be not seen um as you almost Jane is almost like her undercover name, kind of, right? Like, it's the name on the birth certificate, and it's the name she went by in school in Lenora, right? Um, and I think it is the name she introduced herself to with Kali, but I think maybe that's because, she had just found out what her name was in in that season, and it was sort of this, um, journey she was going on, but I don't think she has ever shown any sort of, like, resistance to wanting to be called Elle, um, but if they brought Kali back to kill her, even in a very noble sacrifice, that fails. Yeah. I mean, I think it's at this point, it's time to accept that her return has failed. Anyway, which is very sad, and, again, worst possible outcome, but it has. Um, Thank you for all your Stranger Things activism. Uh, I don't think her return has failed, at least not yet. I meant more so as far as public reception. Uh, it has kind of failed. I was hoping for some nice redemption over these last 3 episodes, and that has not happened. Goodness. Is Stranger Things 5 overhated? In my opinion, it's just releasing in 3 parts was a terrible decision. Yeah. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Um, Jane is the name her mother gave her, the mother who lost her mind for her, and it's the name on her adoption and birth certificate, and when Hopper says, "I love you, Jane," when he's gonna blow himself up, that meant something. No, totally. But I don't know, it's just like in the show, the way it is, it's like most people call her Elle, and that's, like, kind of the name that just, like, rolls off the tongue more in reference to her after, all these years. Um, and again, to me, it is like a cute nickname, it's I mean, they ended up it could be short for Eleanor, right? Didn't they say Elle was short for Eleanor, right, in season 1? That was funny. But, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like way more of a human name than the full number. Um, and I feel like it's weird. It seems like they only, like, whip out the name Jane in serious moments. Like, you know what I mean? Like with Hopper saying that at that moment, or like, Elle see, again, comes out, like, Elle introducing herself to Kali that way. Um, but then it, like, goes away. And then I mean, I don't know. If the show maybe had made more of an effort to call her that name, like, on the regular, like, make a concerted effort to have, like, all of the main characters start calling her that, then it would be a lot easier, but it's just, like it's just the way it's just her name for so long now. Um Yeah, maybe they have some genius redemption in mind, but I can't imagine it. Yeah, it's tough to picture, but I'm holding out hope. I am going to be on the edge of my seat. I am gonna be on the edge of my seat, trust me on that. Um, I would say the Duffers have failed the character and the actress. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and there was, like, I saw, like, a really, sweet interview with Linnea, and she seems, like, so sweet, in real life, and she has this very posh British accent, and she was, like, talking very earnestly about Kali, and it doesn't seem like she has an ulterior motive at all, you know what I mean? And she talked about how she has a very deep love for Elle, and she called her 11, I think, in the interview. But you know what I mean? It's like people do that, like, it just comes out, because they really hyped up that name as, like, such an iconic, um, character. But yeah. Um Yeah, no, we still don't know everything that Kali knows. It's weird. It's weird. Because the way to just, like, explain it away in that one line of her just saying, like, "I knew everything except for that he was still alive." So it's like, what exactly does that mean? She knew that he became Vecna? Like, you know what I mean? It's like she knew that, like, define it. I need to know. Um, and then this is the other thing that people have been weird about and, like, saying is sus, is that, um, Kali has started to call Henry their brother, right? And people don't like that because 'cause they're like, "Oh, this is clearly hinting that she has some sort of allegiance to him, or at least some familiarity, with him, some, familial bond," by saying, it does feel weird when she says it though, right? Like, "After we kill our brother, like, we will do this," and it's just like, "Eh." Like, I do understand that a little bit, and that does kinda make you wonder, like, whatever, And but it's like, I mean, they called Brunner Papa, and so I don't know, but it is something that has also been raising red flags for people, and again, gets me in my head about, what could that mean? Again, I think we talked about it before of like, um, is she going to play a role in unveiling, parts of the real Henry that will allow him to get a little bit of somewhat said redemption to free Henry from the Mind Flayer and then be able to destroy the Mind Flayer. And then there is the whole concept now of like the Mind Flayer kind of being like since he's so tied to it being a part of Kali and Elle too, you know, and Will even maybe? No, his blood wasn't altered, right? He just has the connection. I don't know, but there's still so much I've been thinking about. But is the fact that like if they end the Mind Flayer, will it be released from their blood? You know what I mean? If Henry's eliminated, if Vecna's eliminated, if the Mind Flayer's eliminated, will they be free of their will it cut off? Like, are technically their powers connected to the dimensions? Like, you know what I mean? Is that technically the source of their powers in a way? And then once that's destroyed, they will lose their powers and it will be like the 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 Mind Flayer stuff and the Henry stuff will be like, you know, cleansed from their blood after everything is destroyed and then that's one way that they'd be able to live a life because if they don't have powers, they're of no use to the military or whatever, and their blood is no good anymore, right? Come on, Evie. Come on. Now. Hello. Come on. Ugh. She was knocking down my door like a demodog. I said she does. She throws herself at the door. It is actually crazy. A kitty. Yes, a kitty. My Evie. Oh, there goes the purring. Okay. It's just so weird if she knew about Henry the whole time, right? Because then that's like, why was nothing mentioned in their conversations in season 2? And it's like, I do wonder if it's because, he probably didn't exist yet, but the Duffers are trying to make it seem like all this stuff has been planned. The time between volume 2 and the finale gives homophobes, haters, and other people from the GA to spread all of this negativity. I know. I was suspicious about Kali asking if she had ever hung out in the void before while Murray was fixing the truck. She said she's done it with her psychic friends all the time. Henry. Yeah, again, I've seen people mentioning that and sort of twisting that to potentially be something evil. I read it as just sarcasm at first because all of the other friends are dead. Technically, anybody who could be their friend is dead. I mean, except for him. And so I kind of took it as like, yeah, I do this all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, who else would I do this with, Um, so who knows? But maybe. Again, you know what I mean? That's what I hate. I hate the way she's been written in such a way where you technically could interpret almost everything she says as something villainous or like having a double meaning. Um Canonically, Henry got his powers from the Mind Flayer. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So, like, technically, like, if his blood was altered by that, then, like, the Mind Flayer and, like, is a little bit in everybody? I think all the test subjects? I don't know, and so that's why I wonder, like, if they cut it off and they destroy it, if they'll be free from that, or if it keeps living within them, you know? Britt, I wish you could interview the Duffers. Oh my gosh. Oh, Evie, what are you doing? I'd like to believe Kali stumbled across Brenner's research during her time with Dr. K. Also, in the finale trailer, we see Kali, Jane L, and I think Max in what I imagine is Henry's mind. Yes, it looks like they're at the play that we already saw the flyer for in Max going through the 1950s. So that's interesting. And yeah, I just wonder how all of that's gonna play out. I was about to ask what dog breed. No, yeah, she's a cat. She's a Siamese. Evie the Siamese. Yeah, I read it as sarcasm as well. Yeah, like I read that as like that was their one little chance. That was their one little thing they threw in there of her having a personality and like being a little bit more likable. That was like the one little line they gave her to be a little bit more lighthearted, I think. And yet people are still taking it and interpreting it as something evil. Oh my gosh. Ah. Um Your season 2 video got me into your channel. I just wanna say I'm glad you brought more light to how great that season is. Thank you. And there she goes. Now she's meowing to get out. That's what she does. Bangs down the door to get in. I let her in. Now she's gonna start banging down the door to get out. Let's go. That's why I'll usually leave the door open, but okay. I used to think that cleansing the Mind Flayer was what was Mr. Whatsit's intention with the kids, but I'm convinced now that he's also definitely just evil. Also, the thing that was weird to me is when Dustin was talking about Brenner's notes, he said about him. She just threw herself against the door again. She's gotta be kidding. Oh my goodness. Yeah, weird to me is when Dustin was talking about Brenner's notes, he said about him creating the gate, but he didn't. I must have missed that. There's so much, so much, so much. 3.8 out of 5 this season, yet if they cook with the ending, it'll become 4.5 or 6. Hopper did love bringing up bitchin'. Yeah, and right, and that's another thing that people took this to mean something bad. They were like, it seemed like she didn't know what he was talking about. Is it really her? Is she possessed? Is she actually evil? And then there's also something though that I in the fact that they had her call herself a bad influence. You know what I mean? It's like, really? The way they had her say, like, "I'm a bad influence." Like, again, like, I took that as her trying to be, like, cute about it, but, of course, everyone's like, "She straight up admitted that she's a bad a bad influence." It's like, "Why did they write her this way?" Oh my goodness. Um, and but the thing that I was gonna point out, because again, I did have a lot of this stuff in my notes that, uh have been on my mind about it and that I do think is a little bit weird. So has anybody noticed that Kali has been bleeding out of her right nostril this whole time anytime she uses her powers when everyone else, even her in season 2, always bleeds out of the left nostril? I don't know what's up with that. Like, I don't know if that's like a weird continuity error or if it's like or if it's something intentionally done to, like, make her seem a little bit off. I don't know. It's weird. And I noticed it, and then I was like, "Oh, but, like, I'm not gonna think too much of it, like, maybe they're just, like, switching it up, just for fun instead of having it come out of that one nostril for everybody." Um, but now I'm like, "Oh, like, maybe maybe it does mean something? I don't know, but then, like, if it does, like, what could it mean? Other than, like, trying to portray that something is a little bit off. Um, du-du-du. Alright. Alright, we talked about most of this stuff. Oh, the other thing, because again, I did have, like, tons of Kali stuff in my notes just because it's just the hate has just been weighing on my mind. Um, so I was gonna say, I was worried that by having Hopper say that he's, like, suspicious of her basically and saying, like, "Oh, she's up to something." I was worried that that was going to mean that was, like, foreshadowing for her eventually going to do something, like, evil. But then I stopped and realized that he is picking up on her suicide pact plan. You know? I think that's what that is supposed to be. It's supposed to be he it's supposed to be him suspecting that the plan is that there's something else afoot, you know what I mean? That the plan isn't gonna go exactly the way it is, and that is because she has that they've made that suicide pact plan or whatever it is, right? So I think that's what he's picking up on when he's saying, she's up to something. Because for me, I got scared for a while thinking like, oh no, is that foreshadowing that like he's correct that, she's gonna suddenly turn around and do something truly evil? Or, is it just what we've already been told about what she's planning, you know? Um, here's another thing. Um Yeah, I see suspicious of the pact rather than her general intent. Exactly. That's what I'm hoping. But and then there was another thing though, um, where they specifically had Kali say that Elle is getting weaker, not stronger. And that is something that has been evident. Like suddenly Elle is struggling to lift up the metal plate to get into the gate. suddenly, she's struggling to lift the truck, and it's like none of this stuff was happening before Kali got there. And now, like, Kali is the one saying, like, pointing out that she's getting weaker. And I'm like, I don't like the potential implications of that because, of course, people have ran with that. They're like, is Kali draining Elle? Is she actually like trying to whatever? And it's just like, okay, so why is that happening? And then you can also blame Kali for that because, she's getting in Elle's head about the reality of the situation. And so it's stopping her from being able to be at her full power. Uh, I saw people saying struggling with the truck, but I think it was because she had to be careful doing it. But it's like when she's done with it, it's very much like, ugh! Like, you know what I mean? She's very much like it took a lot out of her. Um, I don't think Kali is weakening Jane. Maybe I'd have to rewatch, but I don't think so. Kali's power is not about siphoning powers. It was never established that way. Yeah, no, but I'm saying like everybody like is trying to turn, trying to twist every single little thing about Kali into something evil. So I was like, so it's like, oh, maybe she has the mind flare within her or something, and they're like draining Elle right now of her abilities or something. Like, so I don't know. That this is why I'm saying, guys, I'm gonna be on the freaking edge of my seat until the end of the episode tomorrow because it's just I will not be able to rest until we know how the heck this thing ends. Um I'm really curious as to what her relationship with Vecna and Henry is or was. Same, and it's like I feel like the show might end without us ever finding out. Like we won't we I feel like we might never find out if he was the one that helped her escape, and then of course if he did, that can also um lend itself to her not, to her being evil. Um if she has, allegiance to him for that. And obviously their philosophies were similar about channeling anger. I don't think they're I don't I'm starting to think that they're not even really going to explore that. But whatever. But there's like so much we're not going to get. Like I feel like we're not going to get I at this point I'd be shocked if they circle back to Owens. You know what I mean? I feel like, we're not gonna get we're probably not gonna get enough of the Henry backstory. I don't know. Um, I feel like we're probably not gonna get enough of the mind flare. You know what I mean? There's only so much time. Um, and so I just don't think there's enough time for everything. But yeah, exactly. Some people noted that she bleeds from the right nostril now, unlike season 2 and unlike every other character. That's what I was just saying, and it's a little bit weird. I mostly saw other people point that out. Um, and then, like, it crossed my mind, like, once, but then other people started pointing it out and making it seem like it was something weird and suspicious, and then I was like, "Oh, just one more thing." And I'm just like, that's why it is. It's like making me so confused. And it's like, I really do not know what direction they're gonna go. We need a goddamn miracle. And the use of goddamn is like every single person has been saying that 20,000 times this season. Um, there's a lot of lore and resolution to cram into an hour and a half. Exactly. With the 40-minute epilogue. I think her being a traitor is pretty much off the table, but I don't know, as a fan of her, I really feel something is off. Exactly, same, and it's like, if fans of her are feeling that way, can you blame the haters? You know what I mean? If even we're feeling like something isn't right, like, they did a terrible job. Terrible job, very upsetting. Um, very upsetting. Ah, I think you may be right about Henry's backstory when you said that. It suddenly occurred to me that maybe their plan is to build intrigue for the first Shadow before they release it on Netflix. Maybe, but then that's so annoying because then you're not you're not actually fully wrapping up the story. You're just like trying to get people to stick around to watch something else instead of like making the whole story self-contained, you know? I said the screen time for season 5 is too low and volume 2 is not using enough time efficiently. Yeah. I felt the same way. And at first I was excited about the runtimes being shorter because like the first 2 seasons did not need 2-hour episodes in order to tell a really good story. Um, and so I was like, I got a little bit more excited because I thought, "Oh, okay, like this is gonna make them have to like really lock in and stick to the story and hopefully they really fleshed it out and they know exactly what they're doing and they're gonna tell a well-paced, decent length story." Um, but that's, now it's seeming like we definitely could have benefited from a little bit longer runtime. Um, But then at the same time, I feel like when they do give themselves a little bit extra time, they end up adding a lot of padding and a lot of filler to the stuff. So it's tough. Um, I still think it's weird that she said she knew everything about Henry when she shouldn't even know he exists. So, yeah, that's another thing too, right? It's like the diet, like, uh because he was just the orderly, right? He was always just the orderly, um, you know? And so that does make you think, like, maybe he was the one that helped her escape, and he told her that he's number 1 or whatever, like, basically tried the same exact thing with 11. See, 11 came out because I'm talking about their numbers now. Um, but yeah, it's weird. Wait, did you talk about the Max and Holly escape scene yet? I feel like that was drawn out. I was biting my nails, begging them to get out of there. Yeah, I think we talked about that in the last chat. And it was the idea of like, the last time this happened, it ended up closing. And now she just is deciding to take her sweet time, even though it's finally opened for her again. And she's been in there for like 2 years. You know, the timing could have been a little bit better with that, but oh, see, now, yeah, I'm getting a headache. I don't know, even if he helped Kali escape the lab, it'd be weird. Because then why would she assume he's dead, right? There's, like again, the writing, I don't know if this is just sloppy writing or if it's just, like, They haven't really done her character any favors with the dialogue they've given her. And then all of these, like, weird little gray lines they've thrown in there. I don't know if we're ever gonna get any, true explanations. Um, Meanwhile, Lucas is fighting off the demodogs while carrying her and the radio at the same time. Yep. That was my headcanon since the Rainbow Room in season 4. Henry helping her get out could have just not worked out for him. Maybe she tricked him and ran. Oh, wait, I just realized. Because people, because I think the thing people always mentioned was that, like, if Kali didn't have telekinesis, then she couldn't have removed the chip thing from him that was, like, suppressing his powers, which is what he wanted, right, from 11? There I go with the number again because I'm thinking of them in the lab now. Um, you know what I mean? Like it changes. The names change depending on, like, the context. Um, but, so he wanted Elle to be able to remove that, right, so that he could go crazy and use his powers again, right? And so people were like, "Okay, but why would he ask Kali for help if she doesn't have telekinesis and couldn't help rip it out or whatever?" But then at the same time, how would he have helped her escape because she was able to use her powers to escape because her powers she can just make herself invisible and walk right out of there. You know what I mean? So I'm confused, I'm confused, I'm confused. Um, because remember, that's what she said. She said, "When my gifts were strong enough, I used them to escape." Why would she have needed Henry's help? You know what I mean? Unless he was the one who, like, told her the way out, like, the same way he kinda told Elle. I don't know. I think the finale should show the final battle and some lore revelation. Alright, okay, anybody who doesn't wish to see the trailer, um, maybe exit out because I kinda wanna go over it just so that we can kinda talk about some other stuff as I've been, very much harping on the Kali stuff because it's just I gotta I mean, it really has been just, like, weighing on my mind because it's just so frustrating. Um, and I think we covered everything that I had in my notes app. Um, I think the last thing I had was just about, like, subverting expectations for her, like, if everybody is assuming that she's evil right now, like, surely that can't be the outcome, right? Like, that would be way too obvious. Surely maybe they're hoping she's gonna do something good and noble in the end. I was thinking, like, it could be like the Bob effect, of how, like, a lot of people unfortunately thought Bob was, like, evil and up to no good for, like, a lot of season 2, people were suspicious of him, um, and then by the time he died at the end, everybody felt bad for ever suspecting that Bob could have been a bad guy, right? So I was like, maybe it's gonna be something like that. I don't know. Um, all right. So I'll mute this for copyright or whatever. And let's just skim through this. So rolling up to the lab in the upside down, Hopper and Ellen, he's saying, look at him with the tears, and he's saying all this really, stuff that harps on, all the horrible things she's gone through, mixed with, flashbacks um, from earlier seasons to just sort of really give the vibe of this being a culmination of everything. Um, and so we don't really start getting new stuff until about 35 seconds in. We got Murray, L, Hopper, and Collie heading in. Um, again here, Collie and L with Hopper going into where the tank is, which yeah, people have pointed out it's kind of weird that the tank has water in it when there's not necessarily a water source in the upside down. It's like, I don't know, maybe they'll explain that, maybe they won't. But yes, and of course the reason she's doing this in the upside down is because it's closer to the abyss where she can get to him. So can't tell what's going on there. Oh, I can still be in the corner if I make it full screen. Cool. That looks like, well, because this is the worlds are starting to collide. As we see at the end. All right, so one, and again, we got all this, which is this the Mind Flayer's lair? Is it the Mind Flayer giving him power? It's hard to tell. Like all the weird things that look like teeth. It's like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? I'm still thinking about it. Like, huh. Okay. An explosion at the lab in the upside down because we can see the vines and Dustin screaming. Everybody's been wondering what's going on with that. And who he's screaming about, because of course everybody thinks Steve, but I firmly believe there's no way that they can kill him. This looks like him dressed as Mr. Whatsit, but turning into Vecna, and I can't tell where he is. Is that in the house? In the Creel house or something? Because it looks like there's some you can see wallpaper over here and curtains. Some people thought it might be on the stage. Okay, then there was this shot here of Hopper, right? Which I wanna know what's going on. So, this is Vecna in the back right here. This is Vecna underneath where it says Netflix, approaching Hopper in the shadows there. I'm concerned about how that's possible depending on where Hopper is in this moment, and of course, everybody immediately jumped to blaming Collie for what's happening on screen right now. People jump to Collie's projecting an illusion of Vecna because she's actually working with him, and she's distracting Hopper from the fact that she's actually gonna kill Elle. So yeah, so I do wanna know what's going on with that, how that's possible. So then here's the shot of Elle, Max, and Collie on like a stage with the curtains about to be opening, which I'm assuming is going to be the play that we got the flyer for maybe earlier in the season through Max going through his memories in the 50s. And according to like some first shadow lore, some stuff happens with Patty Newby at the place. Like maybe we'll get a tiny crumb about that. Hopper saying, let's end this, kid. Joyce and Will and everybody at the top of the radio tower. And then we see the rocks. I'm assuming this is a rock. Coming down, and Dustin gives his other Mother of God line, and here we go, like all of this crashing down into Hawkins, or the upside down Hawkins. Or are they're in the upside down, right? Yeah. Are they? Yeah. Yeah, there's vines all around the thing, right? Yeah. So crashing into it to merge the worlds, and it's getting real close there. It's almost touching the top of the tower there. Whoo, which is crazy. And yeah, that's basically the trailer. So yeah, did not really get that much. But basically enough to drum up some hype. And and a lot of people are saying, this is the last chance people saying like this episode is going to determine how the show is going to be remembered, pretty much, because after the fiasco that has been volume 2, the final episode really is their last chance, to define the show now. So finally a glimpse of the military. That thing looks like a dead spider. I hate that thing pulsing at the top. Same. In the lair or whatever it is. Ugh. Every time they cut back to it and it's like ka-boom, 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 I'm like, oh, like, it's like nasty. But remember, we did see Holly, when she disconnected herself from the tube or the vine, that she coughed out what clearly looked like mind flayer particles. So 2 hours and 8 minutes is 2 less to break down. 25 minutes Vecna lore, 30 minutes like all emotional, or 10 minutes talking, 15 minutes final fight, and then climax and 30-minute epilogue. Yeah, I mean, it's however they're gonna slice it, it's gonna be interesting. Notice the suspicious absence of Mike and Will in the trailer. I think they were there. Will is with Joyce on top of the radio tower. And they also released pictures of them there together. How would she know what he looks like? I'm assuming how would Kali know what Vecna looks like, right? And again, that's what it is. Like, if that is what's happening, she knows what he looks like because they've been in cahoots this whole time or something, right? Like, there's always a way to spin it so that she could be evil, unfortunately. You know what I mean? It's getting harder for me to try to see the positive outcome. I might try to pull up part of the interview I found, with Linnea in a minute, though, because I feel like we should take her at her word. It does not seem like a villain arc is happening. Um, Final mystery song prediction. I have no idea, especially, like, the way they said it's a song that, um, that's, like, never been used in TV or film before or something like that, so, like, that's kinda crazy, so I can't even think. Um Half of the theories now are just thing or person is actually an illusion created by Kali, guys. Yeah, exactly. I think it's also because she's barely used her powers, so people are just, like, coming up with ways that she can use the powers. Um, let's see. Were you also confused at the Jonathan and Nancy breakup scene? Yeah, we talked about it a little bit, I think, in the last chat. Um, that was more so like, yeah, I just thought that they were, like, confronting their relationship issues, but not, like, completely committing to breaking up, like, possibly, like, agreeing to working through their issues moving forward, and obviously choosing not to get married. But yeah. But yeah, they broke up. Alright. Please answer if you think her powers could plausibly allow Terry to re-experience her memories and heal. Would that be too comic book even for the show that this has become? Um, I don't know, but I think unfortunately, I think we're probably not gonna see Terry again either. There's too much to cram into this. And again, if that's something that they maybe wanted to do, I feel like are there some things they maybe could have cut down on in volume 1 and volume 2 to be able to explore some of that and, like, truly wrap up all the plot lines? Probably, yeah. Like, did we need the whole thing with the Turnbows to be that long? Like, did we need, like, the comedy with the pie and that whole situation? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do we need all of the scenes with the kids? Like, do we need that much of Derek? You know what I mean? It's like when you start thinking about it, I feel like again, there's a lot that they could have done as far as like, really tying up so much and revisiting a lot of that. And dedicating more time to the original characters. Sorry. Yeah, oh yeah, is she still alive? Exactly. Elle's mom is just, like, sitting in the rocking chair. Gosh. What if it's an original song by either Finn or Joe? I don't think so. I think it sounded like it's something that, uh, is kinda, like, potentially a a sought after song that nobody has ever really been able to use in TV or film before. So, however, there was, there was on a lot of the cast on the posts that they're making, they've been using "End of Beginning" by Joe, like, on their Instagram posts, and people are going, "Wait, we might actually get this." We might actually get them, like, breaking the weird wall of, like, using a Joe Keery song in the show. In the song that's kind of become like a meme. Oh, man. So alright, let me see if I can just find that interview, with Linnea real quick. Not Entertainment Weekly, it was with Emotional. She did a couple ones with these people. Um, agree. Okay. Of course, there's tons of ads on this website. Like, I don't know why, like, she did this interview with, like, the most random publication that has, like, ads all over their website, but she did. Um, so let me share the screen. Alright, so it's is headed in the finale, and then she just said, "Towards some sort of resolution." And then I think that's the only thing I can say. There is an end to her storyline, and it's something that, for me, felt very right and very emotional. Alright, so based on that, I don't think that's a villain arc. Um, I think for the fans who have been so supportive of the whole show, for the creators, for the cast, it's just going to be very emotional. I was there for the table read. I was lucky enough to be in that room and see the whole ending, and I feel like everybody was crying in there. It was just so emotional. Every time I've read the rest of it, it's just been really emotional, really beautiful, really, really well done. Um, and then just something else that the Duffers had said. So there's that. But then she also did like a second interview, or it was like the same interview with this station else that was interesting. She said, "I think it creates a really interesting dynamic within 11 and very existential questions about what is the right thing to do." Um, and that's what's really brilliant for Kali this season, is that I think it's very valid what she's trying to say. Like, if we do this, not only is it going to benefit your friends because they'll potentially live instead of maybe being killed, um, but it's actually going to benefit the rest of the world. There is a point to be made. It's a very human question, like, what do you do in those moments? What are you willing to sacrifice? It's an internal battle, I think, within 11. Can you leave everything that you've built, the relationships, the people in your life, and go do what may be right? And then 11 and Kali are coming to that conversation from very different places, with Bertelsen adding, there's a difference between 11's relationship to family and just having a mother, because Kali never had a mother, and that's interesting. And I there's part of that, this is so sad. And again, this is why I say this, it can't be a villain arc. I feel like there's a part of her that's still waiting for those parents to show up. I think for me, that was a huge part of what's underneath, especially in episode 5 as an orphan, so to speak. Is she waiting for those parents to come and save her? And I think it's very specific to the character that makes her different from 11, but that's just my perspective. Um, and then just how there was one other one. Like one, um, Date Scene Volume 2. Um, I think there's a part of Kali that's just realized what's actually, like, happened to her, and, like, given the circumstances of that character in particular and what she's going through and being brought back to this place and everything that she's tried to avoid for so many years. The other thing is, like, how do you explain this to 11? How do you convey all of this knowing that her circumstances are so very different from hers? Kali is devastated and she's falling apart, I think. And then there's also a very deep Eleven at the same time asking her to do something that is quite tough. It's just a really difficult conversation. Um, right? So every time you get to develop a character and do a little bit more work, it's just such a human place. Like, it's a very vulnerable place that she's in. It's very rare, I think, that you get to work on a character like that and take the character from what I believe is a persona into something that's quite raw. Um, we had a great conversation, and I thought it was quite exciting and different, just the way they took her character and so I think that's basically all we have right there to go off of, um but yeah, so from everything that I've read there, it doesn't read like a villain arc incoming, you know, it reads as like we should probably take everything at her word and like she at least played it in a way that is apparently coming from a real and human place and everything, you know, that seems to be her interpretation as of right now. I mean, obviously we don't know the finale, so they can't actually say anything. Um but yeah, for her ending to feel very right and emotional, I mean, she's probably gonna die. But, you know, hopefully not without doing something good in the end. Um, Still hoping for some sort of closure between Kali and Hopper's relationship, especially after Linnea talked about the whole parents thing. That's what I'm saying too, and that's why it was sad to like see them write him in such a way because, you know, it would have been cute for it to be like a, oh gosh, you know, it's like I got another daughter now that I gotta look after, you know, or whatever. And for her, and that's why I would have liked um for them to sort of um integrate her into the group a little bit more like that to give her that feeling of that, like, maybe she could belong somewhere, you know what I mean? Um, because that's sad, you know, the fact that, like, nobody in Hawkins is really paying her any attention, like, you know, she probably feels like she couldn't maybe fit in there with them too, you know? Um, yeah. So I know this was like this was like mostly um Kali-centric chat again the day before, but we did touch on some other stuff. Um but also, you know, just for me personally, guys, like it has just been weighing on my mind a lot and just like constantly seeing what people are saying has just been so rough. You know, especially in the wake of my video essay. um, and just really putting myself out there in defense of this character. Um, it's just been I am ready for this to be over. And I hope that the ending is good. Um, yeah, so I think we talked about all of my potential concerns, um, about that. Oh, except for this last thing in my notes, um, was that again, people pointed out the fact that they showed her listening to Mike and Elle's conversation about the the waterfall and everything, and she's, like, in Elle's room after she got changed, and she just kinda leans her head on the door and is listening. Again, to me, that kinda seemed like she was, um, kind of a little sad to hear them talking about this potential future together when she thinks that it's just, like, not possible, um, and that's probably not, what she's gonna be able to get to do because of the greater good, you know? But of course, people are twisting it. She was listening into the conversation, which means she's a spy and she's gonna use this information that she's hearing against them somehow. You know? But I've also seen people again, since like everybody is using um uh like someone said, all the theories are like whatever is an illusion, right? Maybe the fact that she overheard that, people have said, maybe before they die or vanish, she'll be able to show her a vision of the place with 3 waterfalls or at least 1 waterfall or whatever, like something like that. I don't know, but yeah, I honestly can't see Elle dying either. Then they'll blame her for stealing Will's gig as Vecna's spy. And if Elle does die, who's getting the blame for that? I think we know. Oh, people were saying that in Linnea's comments, like, "If anything happens to, Elle, we will never forgive it." And I'm like, "Great, great, 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 great." Um, what other YouTuber talks about Kali in a good light anyway, other than Relay? Yep. So thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So you know what? So be it, right? If this whole if the majority of this stream is like about her character, so be it because no one else is doing it, right? The only thing anybody else is saying is that she sucks and needs to get out of here and hopefully she dies. So we have to work overtime to overcompensate for the fact that there is no other Kali discourse other than negativity. Um, but yeah, very excited for the Mind Flayer's return. Yes, same. And I hope that it doesn't feel super rushed. Um, yeah. Again, this is the thought process I keep having too. Where it says, I don't see Jane dying, and surely the Duffers did not bring back a maligned character only to present her as untrustworthy and then kill her. I mean, that's way beyond a bad look. Yep, that's what I'm saying. And if you look at, again, like there was a couple interviews, video interviews as well out there with the Dovers, and, like, the way they talk about bringing her character back, like, it does not lead you to think that at all. Um, but it also doesn't really align with a lot of what we've seen, so I don't know. I know I said you're my favorite Stranger Things content creator earlier, but I just wanted to send some more love your way now and say thank you for that. I think I did watch your Walking Dead content back in the day, but didn't sub back in the day. Definitely sticking around after the show's end and seeing whatever you have coming next. So keep up the great work. Thank you, Spider Bat fan. And it sounds like you're a fan of Spider Man and Batman. I'm assuming from your name. And I love Spider Man. So perhaps I will cover some of the stuff with Brand New Day. Um, because I was all up in the stuff with No Way Home. Uh, I think that was back when I didn't have an account. Oh yeah, I am. I used to have the Zombie Slayer as my channel name, so you can guess what I also like. Still curious on what Sadie's role in Brand New Day is. All right, there's a little bit of Stranger Things overlap there. Especially with her Secret Wars. It's got to be big, yeah. Was it confirmed that she's playing a villain? I swear I saw that on Twitter, but I don't know if that was from a reliable source. I could have sworn it was from, like, Discussing Film, like the actual Discussing Film. Um Yeah, too much is leaked about movies nowadays, yeah. Hope we don't find out and that it's a surprise. Um, yeah, so we just hit 3 hours. I do feel like I really harped on Kali this time, but I gotta tell you guys, like, I genuinely just, like, had to come on here and, like, rant about it, um, and just sort of, like, work through it with some other people because, it's just like, I can't, it's just a lot, and I need tomorrow to be here now, uh, so that we can finally know how all of this ends. Um, I hope Gaden and Caleb go on to big things too, for sure. Um, you're valid. I've been frustrated with the fandom about her since they brought her back. It's the trenches out there. It is. It is. And I guess I have carved out this little corner of the internet where we can vent about this stuff. Um, and yeah, everyone's memory being erased. Like there's so many possibilities, right? Like I just yeah. Again, so much to cram in to the thing. And again, we have to be getting time travel because I think in my yeah, memories erased potentially from time travel. If there were to be any time travel in the finale, like would that result in people's memories being erased? And then that would basically be the equivalent of it was all a dream. You know what I mean? And nobody, all of the character development, all of the time we spent basically would have been a waste. So it's like I don't want that. But um oh, I was talking about Spider-Man actually. What's funny is that I was gonna make the connection of like, would we somehow maybe do like a No Way Home situation of like, what if there's like some way where like they sacrifice their powers and they go back in time, but there's a way where like everybody can forget about like the bad things that happened, but like they can still remember each other and like I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, if there's like some sort of way where there's like maybe like, oh, would it be awful if like if Elle has to make like a Peter sacrifice and like everybody gets their memories of her erased? You know what I mean? Or like something? Oh my gosh. Um, no, I don't know. But like, something like that. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I hope they don't go that route because then the pain that the Upside Down has caused, that's what's shaped all the characters, right? Exactly. Everything they've been through is what got us to this point with all of our the relationships and the dynamics and like everything that we love. It's all come from this. So they can't do that. But again, I think that there has to be some sort of time travel because I think I showed it in my reaction to the first major trailer. Um which was that Back to the Future shirt that the visual effects team made of Steve and Dustin, and it says "Back to the Right Side Up," and I'm like, "The episode is called The Right Side Up." So, we haven't seen any, like, explicit time travel yet, um and so for them to have made that shirt is a little bit making me think it's gonna happen at the last minute here, but at the same time, who knows? Like, it could have just been a fun reference they decided to make because there's a lot of, wormhole talk and, um, there have been some Back to the Future references in the season, and so maybe it was just something fun they wanted to do, but I saw it and I was like, this is definitely making me think that there's gonna be some element of time travel. I don't know, but I don't understand why people expect time travel. Why would this serve the narrative? Yeah, the show keeps referencing Back to the Future, and then also just like, yeah, like with the wormhole talk, and I think it's also, um I think it's also the fact that they had Mr. Clark potentially foreshadow when they were talking about wormholes, and then he said we could travel, like, to another dimension, to another time even, right? And it's like, huh, it's just interesting that they would put that dialogue in there and then maybe not do that because the whole wormhole thing already came around to being true. That was clearly foreshadowing for, what the Upside Down was going to end up being. And the fact that he said you can use wormholes or whatever to travel to a different time, it seems like just because that scene of him teaching about wormholes has come back around to be, yeah, that is what the Upside Down is. Why wouldn't maybe possibly the other thing he was talking about using the wormholes or whatever to travel to a different time, why wouldn't that maybe also come into play? Um, you know? So, I think that's what it is, and it'll be interesting to see, uh, if that happens on any sort of level and how they would use it. I don't know, but, um yeah, like, narratively, can anybody imagine what they'd do with it? Like, go back and save Henry from ever being flayed or something? Like, that I think that's what most people assume, but then again, that would basically change everything, right? Like, the lab would have never existed, right? Um, Elle would be Jane, probably, living with her mom, um, possibly, right? Because we never found out who her father is either. or like, how that happened. Um, and if yeah, like the circumstances surrounding Terry's pregnancy or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know, but um, yeah. So, what would you got to think of like what if they went back in time and stopped Henry from being flayed? Like, what would that affect? Like, that would pretty much affect um everything. um, the solution to this wait, am I blind or does nothing in our current narrative feel like saying the solution to this problem is time travel? Does any part of the story seem like time travel is satisfying? I don't know. I think they've hinted it a little bit. Again, I feel like I've always thought that if it wasn't actual time travel, it would just be time traveling through Henry's memories, which it looks like we're going to be doing with Elle, Max, and Kali. So I think if anything, that's what it is. But at the same time, um, didn't when Max ended up in the 50s memory, didn't she say something about like I was going I was in like a different time or like it was like I traveled to a different time or like something like that. And then I've seen people point out that line that Elle says in season 4 where she's like, we're all time travelers when you think about it, but I don't think that means anything. Um, And then yeah, and then it's really just the thing with Mr. Clark, I think, at the beginning of, like, setting that up, um, for, the wormhole thing to come true. So then why not explore the time travel aspect of it too? Who knows, you know? Oh, because you know what it is? Well, know what it is? It's because we haven't like, is it just me? Did I completely miss this? Or did we not, um really touch upon why Hawkins is frozen on November 6th, 1983. Did that basically get answered? Did I completely miss that? Because I know, like, you know, Lucas said, um, November 6th, the day it started is the day it ends, right? He said something like that, and all this is happening on November 6th, right? So, yeah, because that's when Elle created it. Or like opened she made contact that day, right? Um, um, yeah, okay. But they hyped that up to seem like it was gonna be something way more interesting of like a reason why it's like that and like, um, you know what I mean? If that was answered, the answer didn't feel very clear or like as like monumental as they were making it seem. Um, so I don't know. I assumed that was how time travel was maybe gonna be involved or whatever, but I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, there's just oh, there's so much, and I am ready for it to be here. Like, I've it's just so crazy that I've genuinely been thinking about this day, tomorrow night. I've been thinking about it for so long now. And literally, like, I almost feel like it almost felt like I was never even gonna live to see the day at this point, just because it's like it just felt like it was so long, like, so far away that I was like, anything could happen between when they announced season 5 and tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's like I was like a meteor could hit the planet and we could all die and we won't know how Stranger Things ends. Like, you know what I mean? And so I've been like I've been literally just going day by day thinking like, please have nothing happen so we can find out how Stranger Things ends. We need to make it uh to tomorrow night. Um yeah, oh no, that could still happen. I know, right? But that's what I've been genuinely thinking. And so the fact that tomorrow night is it has me being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I'm even actually gonna watch it." And then on top of that, knowing now that there is just so much to cover and that Kali cannot be a villain, and that and that they have to do something to soften the blow of her character for people. Um, you know what I mean? Because people are still saying that the Lost Sister is useless and that they will continue to skip it on rewatches because they can't stand her. And so I'm like, they gotta do something in the last episode to make her be like, "Oh," for it to really be like, "Oh, she was actually, like, really nice and she actually cared, and okay, now, like, maybe I understand her a little bit more now," and, like, finally her character can be viewed as complex and actually get a fair analyzation or analyze whatever. I'm getting hungry again, guys. And I know my mom is hungry, she wants some food, so, um The Play the First Shadow was also November 6th, so it has to mean something. Yep, I noticed that as well. And then they dropped, like, some lore as well that I don't know how true it is or, like, where it came from, but, like, that Henry and Will share a birthday, March 22nd, and then there was, like, all these theories about the whole forgetting Will's birthday situation of, like, that it was actually intentional and the fact that, like, no one like, acknowledged his birthday in season 4 is because Vecna's trying to erase him from everybody's memories or something like that. Like, that was, like, a weird theory someone had, and I'm just like, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know," but that is weird if they do share a birthday. Um, because what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, I know they've done a lot of, like, Harry Potter and Voldemort, comparisons, which has been really making me wanna rewatch Harry Potter, actually. Um, but, you know yeah, there's a lot of weirdness surrounding it. It's even Joy saying that he was 11 when he was taken, but he was 12 in season 1. And the missing posters for Will in season 1 say 12 years old. It's like it's weird. I don't know what is going on with that. Um, just like the sus collie stuff, I do think all this time stuff just has to mean something. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's just like it's just it's just thinking of the fact that they only got like an hour 20 or an hour 25 or something like that to put it all together is just yeah. I I don't know. It's a lot, and we will see how it all plays out. Um, yeah. Oh, man. So, I think the season could have benefited from having season 4's screen time. Ooh, this reminds me. Um, I had this whole idea that came to my mind the other day, because I think I saw on Reddit or someone presented the idea of, like, if you could change anything about the show, what would you change? Or, like, how would you rewrite it? Like, what would you do? Like, would you change storylines for the different seasons or, like, whatever, just, like, you know, one of those sort of, like, creative writing type questions, basically. And I really started to think about it, and I was like, "You know what I probably would have done? I would have made season 3 be a prequel season. I would have had season 3 give us the first shadow, right? And now I'm kinda mad that that's not what we got. Because think about it. Because again, though, take the Duffers at their word. They try to say that all this stuff has been planned, and it's like, has it was it really? Because it seems like to me, season 3 as it exists kind of seems like the season where they were kind of buying themselves time, where they were just kinda like, "Actually, we're not actually sure where this is going, so let's just kinda, like, have fun for a season and, like, kinda think of some other stuff and, like, you know, bring the characters to, like, a new place by the end of the season and then work it out later." Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's kinda weird, and so I feel like because season 3 was the Mind Flayer again and reopening the gate immediately after, um, Elle had just closed it the previous season. Yeah, Nicholas the Brave, oh my god, you're still here. Yeah, I know, these chats have been going, like, 3.5 hours typically. So I'm getting ready to wind up, but I'm wind down. Um, but I was just putting a couple extra thoughts in here. Um, because yeah, so like because um to me at the moment in the moment, like season 3 just almost felt like it was it was sort of like immediately undoing what we just did in season 2, and it kind of like minimized season two's importance a little bit, or just, like, made it feel a little bit more muted in retrospect, because it was like Elle closing the gate was, like, this huge cathartic, like, moment, right? And then in the next season, literally, like, when you're binging the show, you know what I mean? It's like, um, when we had to wait 2 years between season 3, it's like, okay, but when you're watching the show, you watch episode 9 of season 2, Elle closes the gate, right? The very next episode is episode 1 of season 3 where the gate is reopened. and and then the goal of the end of season 3 is to close the gate again. You know what I mean? So I'm like, and it's the Mind Flayer again doing a lot of the same flaying that we saw with Will, but now with like more people and like a different sort of like, you know, way about it. And then also like, trying to get Elle's abilities to open gates or whatever that was there with the bite, right? So I get it, but it's like because it just immediately did that, I feel like if season 3 because I was expecting, I think at the time, like I guess I was kind of hoping that since everything felt pretty resolved by the end of season 2, like the gate was closed, like all the relationships were like pretty happy, like everything felt very much like that could have been the end, maybe. It felt like season 3 should have been like a total reset in some way. And so the fact that it was just the Russians opening the gate and the Mind Flayer again and then closing the gate. I was like, the fact that it was just so back to back like that, I feel like season 3 could have benefited from being like some sort of reset because it technically was a reset in terms of like tone and aesthetic and which was enough of a reset in that regard to make people think that season 3 was like really doing something totally new and different. Um but I feel like it probably should have done something like entirely new. And I was just thinking about it and I was like a prequel season for season 3 could have felt like um could have been that reset, right? It's like once everything is like done, like the gate is closed, like whatever in season 2, then we sort of like start fresh with like this new story going back to the, Hawkins in the 50s. And that could have also given it that sort of feeling of like being an anthology series, being an anthology series that some people kind of wanted from Stranger Things, and I feel like, that could have been a cool way to do that, of, like, resetting and sort of telling the story of Hawkins in the '50s, and, like, all the Henry Creel backstory and introducing him, um, and whatever, and then season 4 could have been him as Vecna still, and we get, like, a similar storyline, um, and I was thinking about, like, how that would affect different things of, like, how we wouldn't get, like, Max's, like, running up that hill storyline. I'm like, "But how could we maybe do that?" Like, maybe Billy could have been the first victim of Vecna at the start of the season instead of, like, Chrissy or something, and then so that way that could have, because he has his trauma with his dad or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like maybe, like, that could have still kicked off Max's arc, and it still could have been, you know what I mean? I was genuinely trying to think about it. I was like, "How could we have rewritten this? How could we have rewritten the show if season 3 was a prequel?" But then I also started thinking of, like, um, if season 3 were a prequel, maybe finding a way to combine it, as in, like, maybe our current day cast, um, could have been investigating something about the '50s, or, like, maybe, like, the Victor Creel plot, maybe just that could have been season 3 of, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe just that aspect of what we got in season 4 could have been tied into the season 3 of, I was really thinking about it. I was like, how could we have maybe done this so that now in season 5, all of this backstory isn't rushed, and, like, the story is basically told s basically as linear as we possibly could, instead of, like, cramming in all these flashbacks and backstory now in the end. Um, yeah, it's just something I just genuinely kinda started thinking about, and then I was like, "Man, that might have been cool." And it would have maybe stopped it from, I don't know. I don't know. Um, mm, maybe Patty comes to town for Bob's funeral and that introduces it, right? Like, there could have been some cool stuff we did, but I really don't know, um, how much, um God, why do I keep losing my train of thought? Um, I can't remember. I am so sorry. It's a great idea. I just don't know how much people would warm to it being a prequel instead of a continuation. First Shadow was luckily between season 5 knowing what was coming. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I just think, like, it could have been a cool reset, because again, like, I had no idea where the show was gonna go after season 2, honestly. Like, I was excited to like, I was excited that we were getting a season 3, but I didn't know what I wanted from it, because season 2 did leave me feeling, like, pretty satisfied, and it was like, "Yes, I love these characters, I'd love to see more of them, but, like, I don't really know what they do other than, like, the Mind Flayer still, being in the Upside Down," which, of course, is what they just decided to do again. Um, "Hey, Brittany, you don't watch Stranger Things, just popping in to say hey, and that's fans of something. Hey, Eddie." It's my buddy Eddie there, you guys. Not Eddie Munson. Eddie Green. It definitely would have been great to see, but for me, I think First Shadow works well on stage. Don't know how well it would work seeing that on screen, but it would have been great to see. Yeah, just like some sort of, like, adaptation. Like some of what we got with the Henry flashbacks in season 4, just like more fleshed out and just like Stranger Things in the 50s. And I was thinking about it too that like maybe that could have been like the Back to the Future kind of season. Like, I don't know, and maybe that's how they could have tied our current day cast into it because like you know how Back to the Future was an 80s movie that traveled back to the 50s, like, I was like, "Ooh, that might have been cool if, like, season 3 could have been, like, the Back to the Future, like, giant reference season where, like where, like, our characters in the 80s are, like, exploring something in the 50s, like, going back, you know what I mean? I don't know. Could have been interesting. Could have been fun. And, like, that way it still could have been, like, a fun like, blockbuster popcorn season, which is, like, kinda what they wanted, and it's like, alright, if you make, like, the whole thing, like, just, like, a fun Back to the Future reference, like, season 3 probably still could have been that season of, like, the lighter tone and, like, some of the comedy, but we could have gotten all of that backstory and you know what I mean? Could have been fun, could have been fun. I don't know. I kind of the more I thought about the idea, I was like, "Man, that could have been fun." But oh, yeah, I was gonna say because who knows how true it is that, you know, they how long they've actually had Henry and all of this stuff planned, you know? We take them at their word, but it's seeming to me like they probably did not have it planned for as long as they're trying to tell us, and that's why everything is feeling so rushed right now. Um Tell you what, saying that Back to the Future comparisons, you're on the money there, as they could have tied it in with Max and the memories later in season 5. Yeah. They could have at least recorded the play and released it on Netflix. Yeah, I think we went over that. It's more so, they're probably gonna wait until the play is off Broadway to put it on Netflix because otherwise people wouldn't go see it on Broadway. Um, sorry if I already answered, but are you going to the theater to see the finale? Yeah, I probably will. I have a ticket for it, and I know that I got a ticket to, like, a theater that's a little bit out of the way for me because at the time, um, I got them, like, the day they went on sale, and there weren't a lot of uh showtimes and now there's like 50 billion showtimes. So I'm gonna have to it's non-refundable, so I'm gonna have to go to the theater that is a little bit out of the way. Um, but I guess I will because yeah, it's non-refundable, so I might as well go experience it. But I'm gonna watch it New Year's Eve first. Hopefully I really like it. And if I really do love it, I'll enjoy even more going to see it New Year's Day. Um, And then if I didn't really love it, it could also benefit from a second watch, you know, on a big screen with an audience. So either way, um, I'm gonna I'm gonna do it. Of course, LOL, crazy that most showtimes are sold out. Exactly. Like I was going into the AMC app and I was like, you have gotta be kidding me. And like I go into a lot of them and um like, a lot of them act like they're not sold out, like, it says, like, "Almost full," but then you go in and the only available seats are the handicap ones. So it's like things like, they really are all sold out. Um, so I'll see right now quickly. Ooh, none of the none of my theaters are showing up suddenly. And I love the way suddenly my phone is acting like terrible service. Oh, yeah, like, all the ones in town, almost all of them are almost full for New Year's Eve. Oh, yeah, the only seats left are handicap, yep, and there's, like, 6, 12. There's about, like, 16 showtimes. Yeah, everything's almost full, which is crazy. I mean, good for them, but, like, it's amazing that, like, every showtime in, like, every city, in every state where it's playing is sold out. Like, that's pretty crazy, but that's why I, like, ran to get my tickets the day it came out, but it's, like, so many show look at all the showtimes. Look at all those showtimes that they had to make, um, because it was so in demand. Um, yeah, so, like, these almost full showtimes, every single showtime is gonna have a packed house, which is crazy. Um, yeah, the one I'm going to is sold out, so I got a full crowd but, like, not a super big theater, though, so, but it'll be interesting, and it's laser, so maybe that'll be really nice quality too, but, um yeah, goes on to your last live's point about Stranger Things being the last, big thing of the monoculture. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. It's the fact that, like, everybody is, gonna gonna be doing this, or, like, they're either gonna be watching it at home on Netflix, or they're gonna be going to the theater physically to see it, which is kind of crazy that, like, this whole concept of, like, everybody physically going to the theater to see this thing that they could also watch at home, but, like, everybody's choosing to go see it in theaters as if it's like, you know, it's like Titanic. It's like when Titanic came out, and, like, everybody was going, and it was, like, this huge cultural event, like, so that's why I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go see it in theaters. Come on." Um, but yeah, um, so it should be interesting. Um, yeah. Because I wonder how many people who are, because I'm seeing it New Year's Day, so I wonder how many people will be putting it off, like, putting off watching it until New Year's Day. So I wonder how many people are gonna be in the theater with me seeing it for the first time, because it's gonna be my second time watching it. So that'll be interesting to know, um, you know, like, how many people in there, like, if it doesn't go over well, if the finale isn't great, and everybody who's already watched it and is going to see it again or something is like, "Ugh," in the theater. Who knows? But it'll be fun, it'll be fun. But yeah, this is just about the same amount of time I went last time, like 3 hours, 40 minutes, which is crazy. But at least we were able to get, a lot of other stuff crammed into the end of the conversation here. Um, I didn't know it was New Year's Day in theaters for you guys. I thought it was simulcast. It'll be New Year's Day by the time it airs tomorrow over here. Yeah, it's all at once. So it's coming out New Year's Eve in theaters, and it's also playing New Year's Day in theaters. So, all right. Ah, okay. So I am hungry. My mom is hungry. We are hungry. So we're gonna try to get some food going. Um, are you gonna post about it? Seeing it in theaters? Maybe. Um, but we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I will post. I'll probably end up recording my live reactions like I've been doing, and then sharing that, those stream of conscience thoughts that I have while I watch live. You know, you could probably expect another one of those, and then another live chat on Saturday, I think, which will also be after I've seen it in theaters. Um, so yeah. So I guess I'll be able to sort of talk all about it, um, and everything. That works out. So, all right. Yeah, I wanna hear about the crowd and the atmosphere and the experience, not just the show itself. Yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, like, I'm not sure. I think the theater I'm going to is one that I haven't really been to. I think I've only been to it once, so I'm not, entirely that was, like, the only theater that had a ticket at the time when I bought it, and now obviously there's a bunch of other options, but a lot of them are still basically sold out anyway, so it's a good thing that I did, uh, snatch up the ticket when I did, but yeah, so I'm not sure, what the crowd will be like at the specific theater, but it'll be interesting, and I love to be I love pop culture. I love pop culture stuff, so it'll be fun to be, like, part of the experience of something like this, you know? Um, yeah. Um I hope you get a great theater crowd. Me too. And that's another reason why I put off seeing it the next day was because I was like, I want to be able to take it in for the first time by myself. I don't want it to potentially be like ruined by people in the theater, but I still want to have fun and see it in theaters. So I was like, okay, let me watch it first, think about it, and then go see it again a second time with a crowd so that I won't be as annoyed potentially by the crowd and I can still get to see it on the big screen. So it'll be fun. Um, but yeah. Yeah, thanks again. Enjoy the finale, everyone. Yes, thank you, Spider Bat fan. Um, hmm. Um, Thank you for creating this collie safe space. No problem. I mean, I'm just talking about what I want to talk about, and thank you guys for coming along for the ride. It's been good to have other people to talk about this with. I know other people who might click the live stream after it's, on my channel as a video. Um, some people might be very annoyed by it, but you know what? It's we're taking it upon ourselves, right? Um, so people gotta deal with it. People gotta deal with the collie fixation just because it's like, come on. Someone has to give a little bit more thought to that poor girl. Um, anyway, it's not a bad thing at all. You have the right to be passionate about a character you love from a show. Yep. And someone else, let's see. Just want to say you're the best. Thank you. Um, I know they can go literally anywhere else if they don't like it. Very true. 1 second on Twitter, just type her name and there you go. But yeah, so thank you guys again for watching another very long live stream. I anticipate that the finale will be no different, well, depending on how it goes. If they actually do wrap it up perfectly, um I don't think that the stream will necessarily be that long. I don't think if everything was wrapped up and we're all really happy, but if it goes sour and like things are not wrapped up and it ends up being Game of Thrones 2.0, we might be talking for a while again. And if Kali ends up being a villain. Oh gosh, but yeah. All right, I'll sign off. Hope your mom's okay and you guys can chill. Thank you. Hope your mom's okay. Enjoy your food. Thank you. All right, talk to you later. Yes, thank you guys. Yeah, sounds like she's okay. Sounds like she's been on the phone with her friend for a while now. So, but yeah, that was scary and sorry to leave you there, but yeah, wow. Okay, but yes, thank you guys. Appreciate it as always. I want a long stream for better or worse. Yeah, well, it's coming Saturday, I think. Give me some extra time to think about it because I realized it's coming out Wednesday this time instead of Thursday. So, um, but yeah, so I will see you then. And let's pray for the best, you guys. Let's pray for the best. And yeah, oh God, it's so weird to think that I'm like ending this chat and this is the last time we're going to talk before the end of Stranger Things. Like the next time I see you, Stranger Things will be over, which is crazy. And let's just all hope that it's good. All right. So thank you guys. There's nothing else we can do other than just strap in and prepare for tomorrow night. So enjoy the finale. I'm trying to stay positive. All right. Unless that meteor comes. Exactly. Let's pray it doesn't. So, on that note, I will see you guys on Saturday, I think. All right. Bye.